This is D'Lo Brown. You better recognize right here, right now, we're listening to Brags in the Stand, the best Bears coverage ever. Believe that.
Well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brags in the Stands, also known as Bears in the Stands, and I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is my guy, Junior from Bad Guy Radio and the mean streets of Twitter. You better watch out for him on there. And if you decide to come into our show here tonight, I'm just going to warn everybody that you leave your feelings at the door. We're going to event some things out, and if you're going to try to come in here, that's fine. You're always more than welcome. Any fan is. But we're leaving our feelings at the door. There ain't nothing personal when it comes to this shit, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want the Chicago Bears to start winning some goddamn football games, and we're not getting that. And somehow I'm getting a little bit of feedback on your end, Junior, which is all good, but just thought I'd give you a heads up. But somehow they are worse than they were last year. And someone's going to have to explain to me why, because they have like 25 new players, a lot of them pretty damn talented that have a resume in this league. Somehow they have gotten worse. And I am at a loss for words. On our post-game show with CHGO, I completely lost my mind. Luke Getsy and his, unwillingness to run the football. I understand we all want Justin Fields to take the next step, but if you're going to not put your quarterback in the best position possible by running the football, establish a run, and then play off of that, you're setting him up to fail. This is Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy all over again, as far as I'm concerned. The writing is clearly on the wall. Eddie Barstool, he said it earlier in the week, this is like when you're getting cheated on and all the red flags are right there in front of your face, and all your friends have tried to tell you for months, bro, this girl's cheating on you, and you didn't want to listen, and now here it is smacking you in the face over and over, and you're either going to keep letting it happen to you or you're going to call it out. We're getting played, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting played. And Matt Eberflus to walk into the post-game presser and continue to try to put lipstick on a pig and say, oh, we're doing this right and that right, and things are getting better. And Justin Fields trying to find the, at least he didn't excuse it and say, we got a long way to go. You're goddamn right. I agree with you there, Justin. What I can't tolerate is listening to Matt Eberflus try to say, find the positives in this embarrassment of a start of a season. They're the ones that came into training camp talking a big game about how this team's ready to get going and ready to play some football. You guys are not ready to play football. And for Justin Fields to admit they have a long way to go and they got a lot of things to fix, it's week 2. That means you're not prepared. That falls directly on the coaching staff. Justin Fields isn't absolved of any of this blame either. He's blinded in the pocket. He cannot see guys standing right in front of him waving their arms in distress to throw them the football. It is a complete mess. It's a complete embarrassment. And for us as Bears fans, we're all getting played because we are the fans that live off of hope and dreams. And the offseason is for dreaming. And now the regular season reality smacking us smack dab in the face. And some of us are going to try to rationalize it, and others are just going to call it for what it is. And that's what I'm doing here tonight. I don't really see how this gets any better anytime soon. Kansas City's next week. I'm extremely nervous for where this is going to go. Like I said, I've gone completely crazy here on this is now my second post-game show. And I want to give Junior the opportunity to share his thoughts because I've pretty much said all I can say here, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of thoughts that come out as the night goes along.
I really I don't know what to say. I really don't. I know people look at me and they think like, oh, you're just this pessimistic fan who doesn't care, and they don't even want to call me a fan because I have them lose a lot. I mean, this is why, right? It's situations like this. I've been watching this team for 20 years. Greg, much longer than me. This is the most embarrassing moment I've ever had as a Bears fan. Every single Bears fan looked at the schedule back in May and saw Tampa and this W. Just like they did with Green Bay, W. I don't know which loss is worse. Is it getting your ass kicked by Jordan Love and then watching Jordan Love today have 140 yards for 3 touchdowns and lose? Or is it getting your ass kicked by Baker Mayfield, who hasn't been relevant since his college days? Which one is it? I don't know if we were playing Baker or fucking Steve Young today. I don't know. You got to point the finger to somebody. Tomorrow morning, I've heard Greg say it, multiple people say it. Kevin Warren better be at Hallis Hall before anybody, drinking his stupid fucking coffee, because we all know the Bears and Justin run on Duncan. Better be drinking his stupid ass coffee and waiting for Ryan Poles to get into his goddamn office. And he better say, you know what? What's going on? What's going on, Ryan? You had all this money. You know that $110 million that you spent on 2 fucking linebackers and a right guard? You offensive line guru? Your offensive line got worse. It got fucking worse. You thought Braxton Jones was this stud that you found in the 5th round? No, he's a fucking dud. Darnell Wright, I've heard people say he's a rookie. Yeah, I don't care. You're in the NFL. You were a top 10 pick. A top 10 pick. Play like it. The interior offensive line is terrible. It's worse than it was last year. When does it end? I see receivers. I see DJ Moore on the field throw his fucking hands up. Throw me the ball. DJ Moore felt like he was open every single play today. Every play. Roschon Johnson had a 30 or 40-yard run down the left side of the field. Didn't touch the ball. Didn't rush one more time after that at all. Why did that stop? Equanimous St. Brown. If there's one thing he does good, he fucking blocks. Didn't see the field today. At least I don't think. So we're going to sit here. We're going to point fingers of who we're going to point it at. Me personally, Ryan Poles, this is on you. This is on you. Because you've led all these fans to believe that there's some great that there's something being built here that's great. There ain't nothing being built here that's great. I felt a lot better after week 2 last year than I do this year. And this is the offseason where you spent millions of dollars. You traded a number 1 pick, brought in DJ Moore, who, as a matter of fact, had 3 targets last week and I think 6 this week. 6! What the fuck is going on? People are going to say, go ahead.
To your point about to me, the biggest crime of the day is Roschon Johnson breaking off 30 yards. They send the fullback to open up the hole. It looks beautiful. And then you go completely away from it. You don't ever see it again. He had 4 carries on the day. It's pathetic. You want to set a tone. And when you don't set the tone, this is exactly what you get. 2 weeks in a row to come out the gates, 2 tone-setting potential plays. Last week on the first drive, 3rd down, 4th down failures, turnover on downs. This week, Jaquan Brisker has a pick 6 in his hands, and you can't set the tone. One guy that I feel confident could set the tone for this team is Roschon Johnson, but you won't give him the goddamn football. And when you do give him the football, positive things happen. But you don't want to put him out there. This is Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy all over again, trying to force feed a 2.0 offense that the quarterback simply isn't ready for. He cannot play from the pocket and read the field the way we all want to right now. He's not comfortable. His confidence is shot. He's seeing ghosts. He has no feel with the guy behind him. So what do you do to help that, to put a Band-Aid on that? You run the football. This team set the record, franchise record for most runs in franchise history last year. And now you're in shotgun for the majority of your snaps the first 2 weeks of the season. The few times you're in the I formation, you're getting success. So to me, this is just another failure by another failed offensive play caller that doesn't know what he's doing. Making Velus Jones inactive for 1 jet sweep when you have a wide receiver group that can't block on screens, doesn't know how to block. Last week didn't want to block. This week doesn't know how to block, gets a flag in the most pivotal moment, Chase Claypool. And the one guy you have inactive is the one wide receiver on your roster that's known for his blocking. And everybody says, why would you want to? That's all he's known for. He sucks at everything else. You got to have guys that have established roles on this team. You now have DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool. This is what his role is on this team. It does you no good when he's inactive. So, to me, this is another failure by the coaching staff. They can't develop the quarterback. They can't call plays on offense with any kind of balance or any kind of brains behind them. It's a complete failure. We understand there's still holes on this team, but when the coaches are tying hands behind the backs of the players and not putting them in the best position to win, this is the result you get. And we're just going to have to hit the reset button again. And I can promise you things are never going to change if the philosophy from the organization doesn't change to move into the 21st century and get people in here that understand how to develop a quarterback and put together an offense that makes any sense. Bringing in a first-year play caller last year in Luke Getsy and a first-year head coach in Matt Eberflus and just hoping that they would figure it out is wishful thinking. I was a big proponent of Greg Roman. I have no idea if he would have been able to be a good head coach, but I know he goddamn well would have been able to develop Justin Fields better than what we're seeing right now and cater an offense to his strengths. He did it with Joe Flacco, one type of quarterback, all the way to Lamar Jackson, a completely different type of quarterback. He's proven it, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to retread. We want some fresh new that we're going to surprise the league with and outsmart everybody with and hope that they figure it out on the fly. And we're learning, just like we learned with Matt Nagy, that that's not going to happen. So I want to bring in our first guest here tonight. We're going to have callers as we go along, and I'll put the link out on social media for those of you that are watching and want to come in and give your thoughts. But one of my good buddies here reached out to me and asked if he would come on, and I would be remiss if we didn't bring this guy on, and that is Shane, the smartest man, Marsaw, from the Tape Never Lies Network.
Yeah, we are.
And he's always bringing the heat. I'm sure him and Phil I always make sure to watch their post-game show at some point in the 24-hour span from a loss, and I know they probably went insane just as much as I did after that embarrassing loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How you doing, Shane?
I'm doing, man. It's
it's shit.
Yeah, it's more of the same. It's like Junior was saying, we're numb to it. When Junior said it's the most embarrassing loss in 20 years, I'm like, this dude must be 21 years old then, because there's been a lot more. There's been a lot worse ones, believe me.
It's the most embarrassing like time frame.
No,
listen,
I
saw today. And, I get it. Like, you got boys on the other team, right? But when you're on that field, you're competing.
Yeah.
When I grew up playing sports, if I had a friend on the opposite side of the diamond, the opposite side of the field, the other side of the basketball court, I didn't fucking like you.
Oh,
I wanted to beat you.
You didn't invite.
You know what I saw today?
Mother to the game and get her better seats like last week?
You know what I saw today? The man who's lucky to be on this fucking team right now, Chase Claypool. Mike Evans go down the field for 35 fucking yards. And we want to talk about culture in this fucking locker room of players not caring, which leads me to fucking number 2. Matt Eberflus, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's
the offense once the offense gets in a huddle. DJ Moore's got a fucking towel on his head because he's clocked out already. He doesn't give a fuck. You brought him in. I saw somebody say you got a Lambo in the garage and you don't want to take it out. And then to get back to the Chase Claypool thing, Evans goes 35 yards down the field, crashes into the Bears fucking bench, gets up, and Chase Claypool just high five. How you doing, boss?
Yeah,
if I'm a defensive player and I saw tape that tomorrow or whenever they watch tape, I'm saying, dude, what the fuck is that? What the hell is that? You're one of us. You're not one of his boys during those 3 hours. You're one of us.
Yeah, but don't forget last year, you had Cole Kmet go out there and, Aaron Rodgers said that he owned us. Well, it's because he does. That was your guy that you extended and gave a bunch of new paper to. So that is your culture. Just one thing that I want to address is the targets thing is overrated. That's not a Luke Getsy or Matt Eberflus issue. That's a Justin Fields issue.
Correct.
There's people. I mean, we'll show you and break it down on our end. There is a play today. Roschon Johnson is uncovered
In the seam.
27 yards, and Justin never once looks at him, and he forces the ball downfield into double, almost triple coverage. He doesn't even know that he's there. Roschon probably he gets at least 40 on the play.
And you're not even talking about the one that's the wheel route up the seam that was on third down. You're talking about a different play.
DJ Moore just runs a little quick out for like 4 or 5 yards. Justin doesn't look at him, and DJ throws his hands up. And
that's the one I'm talking about.
Like, dude, what the fuck? This is the NFL. And listen, Luke Getsy is in over his head. We understand that. Matt Eberflus over his head. We can't sit here if we're going to be breaking down tape and be honest and say that these guys are open, but the quarterback won't throw the ball, so it's all on Luke Getsy. Justin has to be better. End of story. The kid is as talented as they come, but Phil talked about it post-game. It's to the point where you can see him almost transforming into a different person post-game, where to me, it's almost like he's starting to just say, I'm done.
It's like an attitude of whatever happens. Yeah.
You know, maybe he needs to have his boy follow him into Hallis Hall and post it on social media that he's working out at 11:30 with Darnell Mooney, because that's paid off. I mean, that's been huge. 2 years, they're best friends. Great. It means nothing. Justin has to play better.
There's no question about it. And the excuse train is over. The scary thing about Justin is these aren't just guys that are kind of open. They are wide open. It's not even NFL open. NFL open, that term means a tough throw that most, if not all, quarterbacks can make. The majority.
You don't think Bagent comes in there and rips the fucking ball to DJ?
These players are wide open. On the play that you're referring, where Roschon goes up the seam, comes out of the backfield, up the seam.
Is that the one he went in motion, I think?
Yes. And DJ Moore goes on a quick out. DJ Moore is throwing his hands up in frustration that Justin's not looking at him. Roschon is wide open on the seam. And I think Tyler Scott is also wide open.
Yes.
So you didn't just have one wide open player. You had 3 players he could have thrown at. And I have really no idea what Justin's looking at on that play, because what it looks like on the telecast is he's looking right at these players and is just not pulling the trigger. He's gone completely gun shy.
It goes all the way back to Ohio State, but in Ohio State, he could afford to hold the ball because he had elite talent in front of him. He had elite talent on the outside, and they were up most of the time by 35. So he could afford to do that. The NFL, you can't. I mean, where you can hold Luke Getsy completely responsible is on what planet you call an inside screen there inside your own 5. I mean, that right there to me is, I have no words for it. But then again, Justin Fields, his dropbacks are lethargic and slow, just like on that play. If you go back and watch him on that play, he just dropped back. You would have no idea that the game was on the line. And you want your quarterback to flatline and not be flustered. But it was just, everything is robotic, mechanical, or interception. And that's what it is. The biggest issue that the Bears are going to have moving forward. And guys, we've been around this a long, long time. Been Bears fans, have been kicked in the nuts over and over and over again. And most of us always default to thinking that change is going to fix everything. And it's not going to fix anything. If they bottom out this year and they draft Caleb Williams, we're going to be in the same boat.
I agree.
If they don't do anything. And this is going to fall squarely on Kevin Warren. Because at this point, I know he hasn't been in power very long, but I want to see more than photo ops with Kevin Warren. I could give 2 shits about him standing in front of the Hallis statue out front. Is
giving tickets to the window washer.
Right,
That's
exactly.
great.
That's what I said. Do you want to know why Hallis is pointing away from Hallis' fault? He's telling all the motherfuckers not to come back because they're terrible. You know that the statue there, that's the fucking point. Like, go back. Don't come here. But if Kevin Warren if they bottom out, and if you cannot go in to another offseason where you're going to be in play for Caleb Williams or Drake May or Sanders, if he's your QB3, any of these guys, and turn it back over to this coaching staff, because you did it with Jay when you forced him on John Fox. You did it with Mitch when he was there with Nagy. None of them are their guys. So it's the same thing. You're gonna waste it again.
But this cannot be, let's wait until the season is over and assess the damage. That's the first change that Kevin Warren needs to make, is if it gets as bad as it may get, if it gets to that point, and I'll give the Bears an opportunity to change the narrative. They have every bit the opportunity to start changing our opinion starting next week. I don't give a shit that they're playing Kansas City.
Yeah.
But if they don't, and this continues to go down the road it's going, Kevin Warren needs to step into George McCaskey's office and say, we're doing things differently now. We're not waiting until the offseason. We're getting ahead of this right now and start letting heads roll the right way and get them out of town.
Okay. God, I'm sorry.
And where is your confidence in that happening? Because for me, it is not there.
And that's
I don't know enough about Kevin Warren to think that he's going to have the wherewithal. And listen, we all know that the Bears have been the franchise to, hey, we're going to sit back. We're going to let this play out. You know, yes, they launched Trestman to the moon. I understand after year 2. Are they going to give this? Are they going to give Ryan Poles and Eberflus and Ian Cunningham and Luke Getsy the benefit of the doubt just by saying, well, Justin wasn't their guy? And
it's a tough sell for them if they're going to wait until the season is completely over, because then you'll at that point be able to make an argument that everybody needs to go, and you just whitewash it completely, and you don't give any of them, whether it's the GM, head coach, and the quarterback, you get rid of them at all, because you have 2 top 5 picks theoretically, and you're going to let whoever comes in start fresh with that. But if you're Ryan Poles and you want to get ahead of some situation like that, Kevin Warren's going to you going, who's the problem here? Well, at some point, Luke Getsy's on the chopping block. Boom, you're gone. We don't really know what's going on with the situation with Alan Williams, and I'm not going to speculate. Well, I think we all learned our lesson when it came to.
Real quick, right there, Greg. The Alan Williams stuff is so overblown. This is Matt Eberflus's defense. What he wants to go on defense, Matt Eberflus.
But what did you make of when he answered the question when he was asked today about it in the postgame presser, and he goes, "We'll get to it when we cross that bridge." Not he's going to be the defensive coordinator when he comes back. It's like saying
when you get boat raced and you have no idea what happened in game, it's we're going to have to review the tape.
Right.
If you win by 40, you know every fucking detail of everything.
So to me, the answer is, though, if they were a smart franchise, which they're not, which means Luke Getsy can't unlock Justin Fields, can't develop him, can't call an offense that's predicated to his strengths. Boom, you're gone, Luke Getsy. Let's see if anything changes. And if nothing changes, boom, the entire coaching staff, you're gone. And now we're going to see how this all plays out as the rest of the year plays out. And then Ryan Poles has a fight in this and says, look, this isn't on me. I've given these coaches every opportunity with the players at their disposal now to have a competitive year, and they've gotten worse. That's what a normal functioning franchise, how they would assess it.
I agree, because when you look at, right, my thing is like new regime, same outcome. We've seen this time and time again. It's wash, rinse, and repeat with no matter who they bring in, whether it's a president, a GM, a head coach, quarterback, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. If you go back to last year and you look at the Detroit Lions, they were 1-6. Dan Campbell got pissed off, came into the office, and I think it was like their DB coach or some shit like that, just canned him. And he was a good friend of him, just said, get out, you're done. Fired him. And they rally off and finish 9 of 8. Now, I'm not saying the Bears are going to go into Hallis Hall tomorrow and just say, hey, we're no longer with Alan Williams or Luke Getsy, you're gone, whatever it may be. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but you have to do something. You cannot keep running like this traditional organization that they have that we can't fire people during the season because that's not professional. It's hurting your organization. Caleb Williams' father came out 3 weeks ago and said, if there's a team number one that we think the situation sucks, we're staying at USC.
If Chicago's got the number one
If
pick,
Chicago's not number one, guess what? We're going to see him in fucking Southern California still.
No, you're not. You'll see him in Chicago. You think he's going to pass up the fucking
I
endorsement
don't.
deals in Chicago?
No. And I do have
that
tweets
was a
that'll
clear
prove
shot
that.
to the Arizona Cardinals. He's not passing
100%.
100%. They can go 0-17. Caleb Williams will be.
But
in
it was more so to the principle of like how this organization is ran. It's just ran so goddamn poor. And like you said, if you said you bring in Caleb Williams can be Patrick Mahomes. If you brought in Patrick Mahomes, I still think he'd be very good. But like I don't think he would be Patrick Mahomes. I feel like the Bears would find a way to mess it up.
I get where you're coming from, Shane, that would never happen. Caleb Williams would look at Chicago differently because of the market. But I don't think Junior's that far off either, because this reminds me of when we all just assumed Tracy McGrady would come to Chicago because this is Chicago, and he chose Houston over Chicago. And if you're Caleb Williams and you're looking at this, it's different.
It's different. It's different.
Do you think Caleb Williams?
Different in basketball.
But I'm just saying, do you think that Caleb Williams is looking at what's going on in Chicago right now and saying that's Justin Fields' fault? Because I promise you, he's looking at it like they ruined.
You're in a position of power if you're Caleb Williams, absolutely, and you can say things. You can lay out what your expectations are. But I'll tell you, Caleb Williams is not. The whole going back to USC thing is funny. I mean, you're never going to recoup that money,
right?
If you go back to USC, I understand the NIL and all of that stuff, but what are you guaranteed? Like, what is it, 45, 50 million as the number one pick? And you're never going to recoup that money. But just beyond that, you cannot, you guys are 100% correct. You cannot sit in place and expect different results. It's just like this defense. There is not a worse third and long defense anywhere in football.
Right.
And that's
what I'm saying. Like Eberflus coming after the game and saying, "Oh, we did some things better today." You were still terrible on the most crucial down of the game.
Well, it's Tyreek Stevens. What are you doing on 3rd and 18? What are you doing?
At one point, I saw a stat. Baker Mayfield was 10 for 11 with 111 yards and 1 touchdown on 3rd down. 10 for 11.
But was that for the season? Because then I thought
that was today. That was today.
I thought on 3rd down they were like 9 of 16. So I saw.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what it was.
They said that was today.
Junior. I saw the stat flashed on the screen too. But then when the day was over,
either way, he was. I mean, he put up the numbers. No matter what, I mean, he looked like Dan Marino. I mean, Jesus Christ, sometimes he looked more mobile than Justin Fields did.
I know.
This is what's weird. It says on 3rd down they were 8 of 15. But I did see the stat that you put up as well.
So maybe it was for the year.
It could have been for the year. I have no idea.
Whatever. At the end of the day, on 3rd down, they were still doing whatever they wanted to us. It felt.
Oh boy,
it doesn't matter.
Barb's in the chat, Shane. Just behave.
My thing. I gotta ask this. I run a store, right? I manage 20 people a day. With me, I tell people what to do to get the job done so my boss doesn't bitch to me. And then when the people I tell them to do, if they don't do it, I bitch to them. Matt Eberflus was asked about that screen pass when they were inside their 5-yard line today. And he said, when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, you can criticize us. I don't know why you would even answer a question like that, but whatever. That's just me. Why is Matt Eberflus not going to Getsy and be like, listen, bro, it's clearly not working. I'm not trying to invade your workspace. I'm not trying to micromanage.
Yes,
but
I am. You're the head coach.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you are the fucking boss. You go to him and you say, listen, Justin's doing pretty decent when you give him the opportunity to throw the ball down the field. Not saying he's perfect, but it seems to be working out a little bit better to us. These fucking stupid ass screen passes that are not working for us, maybe slow it down a little bit. Why is he not going to him and saying, change it up? That is the question that, like, is so confusing. And like a thing I read on Wednesday or Thursday, when you're a head coach, I feel like you should have full reign of like game day roster. You should have power of all of that. Why is the report came out, Ryan Poles has a say with who's active and who's not and who's going to play. Why is he jumping in on that? It's just so discombobulated with how they run things at Hallis Hall. It just makes me question, like, what the fuck is going on?
And here's the thing that I just keep going back to. I understand Justin Fields holds a huge accountability on this, and it is extremely concerning seeing what he looks like here in year 3 of his development. It's obvious, and it's unavoidable at this point. But at the same time, in the second year of this offense, he clearly isn't comfortable throwing from the pocket. So why force him? This is literally, again, Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy, where Matt Nagy's trying to force Mitch into 2.0 when he's A, not ready for it, or B, not capable of it. So if you're trying to win games, as Phil will say it a million freaking times, get in the goddamn I formation.
That's the
run
answer.
the ball. Roschon Johnson, they ran the ball 4 times in the first half, and 2 of them were 2 of their most successful plays, with Khalil Herbert in the red zone and Roschon Johnson breaking off 30. And if you continue to establish that kind of running, power running, then you now have the opportunity to go in the I formation and play action, roll out, get Justin Fields on the move, where now the defense is sucked in because they're baited on the run, and you have guys that are wide open. The way San Francisco, I am fairly confident in knowing how they would use Justin Fields. Run the ball with power running, doing a lot of different things, and then getting your guy out in floods and play action and getting easy throws for your quarterback. You think Brock Purdy is the next coming of Tom Brady? No. He's in an offensive system that's conducive to the development of a quarterback. You think Jordan Love is the next Aaron Rodgers? No. He's in a system that predicates running the football, balance, and a good offensive line, which the Bears don't have, and that's conducive to developing a quarterback. So I understand that we are getting to a end of the line here with Justin Fields, but the Chicago Bears and their staff are doing no favors whatsoever to help the quarterback.
Greg, he's as talented as they come. The Chicago Bears have done him no favors whatsoever. We understand it, but for whatever reason, Luke Getsy is so inept. He runs plays that you should be running once you establish the run. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. Phil's been banging his head against the wall, to his credit. He did it very early on with Nagy, and he's like, yep, this dude doesn't get it. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? He's coach of the year. Guess what? Right. He was on this with Getsy and Eberflus last year talking about. He's like, guys, I'm right there with them again. And listen, the Bears try to do so many things through the media. What did we hear about? Hey, Deontay Foreman, healthy scratch today. Going to get a healthy dose of Roschon. It was like that was their game plan.
I think
we're going to let the media put that out there, and whoop, here's the okie doke. Fuck it. We're going deep. Everybody's got the Rex t-shirts on, Unleash the Dragon, all of that shit. But guess when it all changed? After the first 15. I was talking to Ryan Cox and Cars about it.
Yep.
Everybody was excited that first drive, and let's see what happens after the first 15. We go out there, we get a turnover on the block punt. You even see some emotion from Eberflus. What were the 3 plays after that? Sack, loss of yards, sack. That's after the first 15. It's just a message needs to be sent. Am I expecting it to happen tomorrow? No. Am I expecting Kevin Warren to come out and make a statement tomorrow? No. That's something that if it's going to happen, it would be after their bye week. That just seems to be standard procedure in the NFL. You give yourself that extra week. But, I used to sit there, Phil's been a proponent of bringing in Harbaugh, bringing in a maniacal coach. And
at this point, fuck it.
I have no problem with it, because are the Chicago Bears maniacal with everything that they do? I don't think they are. I think that they know most of the fan base gets excited with change. The stands are still full all the time, and it's still the same fucking product week after week after week, year after year after year. You get one drive, and then you know it's over. If the Bears go down and score first, you know damn well at halftime they're still going to have 7 points. That's who the Bears are. Or they're going to get gashed when they kick off, or the defense is going to get run over the very next series. That's who they are. You saw the big touchdown from Chase Claypool that everybody's been waiting for forever. And then boom, what happens? The Bears fall right down flat again.
I agree with you with waiting till the bye. I don't know if Bears fans can hold off to week 13. I don't know if they can do another 3 months of this shit, because this is
Bears fans, yeah, but I don't think
yeah,
they're a non-factor when it comes to Kevin. Sure. I mean, unless they just don't show up, and that's great. Greg, you know that's not going to happen right now this early. It's just not.
If anything, the diehards are like, hey, the ticket prices are getting cheaper by the second, and now it's an opportunity to not have to spend as much going to the game, but they're still going to go. But they're going to boo like hell week 4. That when they come out for the pregame warm-ups, these guys are going to be getting
and
booed.
Jaquan Brisker can go on his fucking show tomorrow and blame it on the fans and say, "Oh,
let me say this. A head coach's job is to have your fucking team prepared. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
3 plays in and you are dehydrated. And listen, I'm fat. I'm not running down in Tampa fucking playing on a football field with physical ass motherfuckers. 3 plays in and this man is already dehydrated and has to take a half off.
Who's gotten more hype on this team than Jaquan Brisker overall for what he's shown as a professional football player?
Not many.
Pretty short list.
I would probably, it's
pretty short list.
Yeah.
But that's the problem as a Bears fans. They do 1 or 2 big. Jack Sanborn, holy shit, we pulled him off the scrap heap. He's the next Urlacher. Fucking happened. How many missed tackles did Jack have today?
Dude, there was a play he ran into Tremaine Edmonds.
There was a point, and I was part of it last year. Oh, there goes Roquan. Jack's in there. The Bears got their guy, but that's what it is. Bears fans see that. Tyler Scott is the same thing. What did we hear about Tyler Scott all offseason? Oh my God, he's going to open this up. He's going to get over the top. Yes, I understand that Justin Fields has missed throws to him or just not thrown the ball, but this happens over and over with Bears fans. Jaquan Brisker has all the talent in the world. I understand it. He's been put. Tom Thayer even when he talks about it, he's like, this kid can be an all-pro. Show me when. All I've seen is the last 2 games is he's laying down on the ground. He's been hurt and had to leave the game the last 2 weeks. What's his biggest play as a pro? The pick in New England?
Yep.
That's our last win, by the way. It's almost a calendar year ago.
Well, and we're just so starved for a safety to ever work out for this team because we've just been, just bad luck all the way back to Mike Brown. And it's to me, the whole thing you bring up, him being dehydrated after 3 plays. All right. I can understand getting lightheaded, getting too hot. It happens, and
100%.
Pre-game warm-ups are long. It's not just like you just show up and run out there and you haven't been they've already been in the heat for like an hour and a half from their early warm-ups without pads. Then they come back out with their pads on again. Then they go back in the tunnel and then come back out again for the, lineup announcements. And it's a long process, but there's where, again, I'm going to keep throwing it at the coaches, dumbasses. You got to be prepared for this. You have to know how hot it's going to be. It's 107 degrees on the field. You have to make sure that these guys aren't overworking themselves in the pregame warmups. You have to make sure they're hydrated, or you've got the shade and you've got all the things to make sure that this doesn't happen. And your head coach isn't wearing a freaking hat the entire first half, and he looks like every time they pan to him that he's about to die.
Yeah, it's
how many people?
His fucking hair's like coming down strand by strand.
Well, the Botox was leaking out of his forehead at one point.
He literally looks like he's about to have a stroke at one point. How many of you, when you go to Florida and you go to the beach, don't have an umbrella and a hat for yourself and your family. He walked out there without a hat. That just goes to show you how unprepared he is. I know it sounds silly, but at the same time, who goes to Florida and doesn't wear a hat outside?
Matt Eberflus.
Get one of Matt Nagy's visors. I mean, it looks like he's still calling plays.
I hear you, man. No,
there's so many question marks with this team.
They're lost. I saw somebody in the chat. I'm so used to doing this on my end. I was going to highlight it, but obviously I can't because I'm a guest. But it says I don't understand the jumping to conclusions after 19 games. Well, I mean,
what?
We've lost 12 in a row.
I'm telling you, man.
What else do we need?
We've lost 16 of those. 16. Yeah.
I know. It's
how many head coaches have survived the 12-game losing streak, and now you're heading into Kansas City?
You're starting 0-4. You're looking down the barrel of 0-4. Let me say this. Washington looked good today. They look good.
And I'll extend the invite because, like I said, anybody that wants to call in is welcome to call in. And T3P, I'd love for you to call in because you're always in the CHGO chats talking shit. Now you're in here talking shit. And what we're talking about is Bears football. And obviously you're interested in it. And if you think that you've got a better take, feel free to hop on and share your words of wisdom, please. Because it's like laughable to see people come into these chats and think that they can do a better job. Come on, anytime you'd like. Door is always open. Appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in. Come on and let's hear
do you want me to handle it the way I do on my show?
Share. Yeah, go for it. I really don't care.
His mother's a cunt. He knows that. That's how I handle it on my show.
Yeah, that's how you handle it. I open the door. See, what I do is I open the door, and hey, T3P might be a nice guy, but he's always busting my balls. Like I said, this ain't CHGO. You're more than welcome
like
to come
that
on
like
here.
to run their mouth in the chat, but when you ask them on and the lights come on, then they're gonna sit down in
and
there.
like I said, if he's got a podcast, obviously he knows what he's doing. Come on and tell me what you think, because I don't understand how you can't be just as upset as anyone else. You might think the whole not wearing a hat is stupid. I don't. When I go to Florida, you're wearing a fucking hat. It's hot outside. It just shows that you're not even thinking about it. So Echo Bean in the chat, whatever happened to brick by brick? Let me tell you something, Echo. When you're laying brick, yes, brick by brick is a philosophy I live by. And I was hoping this team was living by as well. But guess what happens when you lay too many bad bricks in a row and you start stacking bad bricks on top of bad bricks? Guess what happens after about the 7th course? The wall starts to fall over and you've got to tear it down. That's what happens with a brick wall that isn't built correctly. So brick by brick is a good philosophy to live by. But the point about being brick by brick is about consistency, is about execution, is about technique. Those are the things you have to make sure you get down. And every brick you need to get a little bit better. So that next brick is even better. And then by the end of the wall, the one brick you didn't lay perfect, nobody's going to see. But if you lay an entire brick wall like shit, it's going to fall over and you're going to have to tear it down. And that's what we're talking about at this point. I don't think any of us are ready to tear down the wall yet, but right now we're on the 3rd course and you better get the bricks right or you're going to have to tear it down. That's what's going on here.
It ain't changing, man. I mean, you're going to have a tsunami like wave come through and change a bunch of shit and have it all go right for you. And it's not. I mean, you got to make up your mind on the 5th-year option for Justin Fields at this point.
It's a no.
You can't do that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a no. They're not taking it.
Yeah, you can't. You can't do it at this point. You just can't. And it's who they are. It's who they've been. And everything is going to be on Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren's face right now. That they're the next.
And I think Kevin Warren believes in Ryan Poles. So that means Kevin Warren's going to be giving Ryan Poles the hard conversation of it's time to start cutting ties with people you might like at Matt Eberflus, but he's doing you no favors on coaching players you brought in and making you look bad.
The tape always lies, win or lose.
I saw that.
Right. Yeah, okay. T3P, just I don't know, man. You're just a
Send him the link. Send him the link.
Yeah, come on. We'll get you up to 6 subscribers on your show. That's fine. Let's get crazy.
For real, though. You want to come on, you let me know, T3P. The door's open.
Yeah, but you have to look back, and Greg, you know that I always have a different outlook on a lot of things, and I'm looking kind of at just different avenues, and everybody should realize that Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles share an agent. And if you don't fucking think that this played into him becoming the head coach of the Chicago Bears, you're fucking clueless.
Let me ask you this. So I saw somebody the other day say Matt Eberflus was Ryan Poles' guy. Now, I read into it a little bit. He had his first interview before Ryan Poles was hired. Am I correct? You can go back a few. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Yeah, but I'm just saying they listen. You can essentially have your list. I mean, they brought in Polian. He's going to have his list. Matt Eberflus was going to be on everybody's list.
Yeah. No. Well, my question is, listen. They go back years of being good friends, and it's funny you brought up.
They didn't know each other before this.
See, I had read that they've known each other for years, and the fact that you told me that they're agents now leads me to believe that plays, like you just said, an even bigger role in all of this.
100%,
a huge role.
The NFL is the good old boy network. I mean, go back to Ernie Accorsi. Who the fuck did we hire? John Fox. Where was Ernie Accorsi back in the day? Yep. In New York. Listen, it happens all the time, and I felt like he was the best man for the job. It happens. Ryan Pace didn't want to hire John Fox. That was forced upon him. He wanted to hire the guy that we just faced today. If Ryan Pace had his choice, Todd Bowles was going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. They hired a general manager and said, this is who is going to be the head coach. That's the way the Bears do business. Always starts up at the top. And
starts at the top.
This is what I'm saying. It's going to get back to Kevin Warren has to remove himself from all of it. I don't give a shit if he's got a good relationship.
It's almost like somebody has to be a rebel.
I know we don't have
confidence.
I'm
do things my way.
And I know we don't have confidence that he's going to be that hard-nosed president that we've all been waiting for, and not just another Ted Phillips. But I do feel like there's a chance that it could be a different type of leader here. The only way I've heard the reputation. Hold on, because I feel like I've heard enough of his reputation on how he ruffled feathers as the Big Ten commissioner.
The Big Ten, yep.
And he shook it up. That's a big boy business there. And he left that better than he found it. So I have confidence that he's going to be more cutthroat than people think.
But let me ask this. Was Kevin Warren brought in to run the team, or was Kevin in the organization, or was he brought in to be like, hey, figure out where our new stadium is going, and then that's it? What was he here for?
I think the answer to both of those is yes.
Okay, so then here's my question. I just asked you, Shane.
Yep.
Does somebody in the organization have to be, fuck you, I'm doing it my way. If you don't like me, get rid of me. So if he was brought in to, one, run the organization, and two, get them a badass stadium like every other team is getting right now, if he rebels, what does he have to lose? If that's truly the McCaskey's guy, they're not going to get rid of him. They're indebted to him because they want him to get this new stadium.
I think that Kevin Warren would have never taken the job if he wasn't going to have full autonomy over
100%, because he had a luxurious job at the Big Ten commissioner making millions of dollars.
He was making $7 million, and there was a lot of people that started laughing at the Bears, saying, he's never going to accept the job in Chicago. And listen, he's obviously a brilliant businessman and knows way more than any of us do, when you're specifically talking about that. But I think that if Kevin Warren says, I need to clear the fucking deck, I think that's what's going to happen. If I was a betting man, I think if they get to that point, I think he's going to clear the deck from below Ryan Poles and beyond.
So you think he keeps Ryan?
Yes. That would be that. I have no inside info. I'm completely guessing. That's just my feeling. I would be very surprised if he wiped the slate clean front office wise after 1 year. You have 2 years to look at what's went on with Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff, and there's issues everywhere. There's issues with Chris Morgan. There's issues with Janoko. There's issues with Matt Eberflus himself. There's issues with Alan Williams. All of them. Ryan Poles hired that guy. I get it. History shows you're going to get a chance at another one, and history shows you're going to get a chance to pick your own quarterback. And to this point, he has not. And if you listened, Greg, you probably did. You probably listened to who was Josh? Who was the guy for the Bears?
Josh
Lucas.
Yep.
Yeah, he was on a couple. He was on with Hogan Johns, and then
he was just on the other day with ESPN 1000.
Right. Yeah, he was.
Which was
on
interesting to hear.
Yeah, he talked about that gray area. He said, yes, they've made some upgrades, but can you sit back and say that they've absolutely done everything in their power to put every resource possible into making sure that Justin Fields is the guy? They've made upgrades. Have they went out of their way to make sure? I don't think so. And I do agree with Josh Lucas there. There's a major gray area there for me. It's just like how
they tie a hand behind their back and then expect someone to start boxing.
Everybody saw the second round come up this year, and John Michael Schmitz, and I know some people didn't like him. I was like, holy shit, I didn't expect him to drop there for the Bears. I'm like, wow, you just got your right tackle for the next 10 years. Now you can solidify your center because Cody Whitehair ain't it. Lucas Patrick ain't it.
And that's what I've been saying. And you can ask Greg. Greg will attest to it. Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham are offensive line guys. And to me, you neglected that whole unit this offseason. I don't think you did a good enough job. And I just don't think you did a good enough job to help Justin.
It started with the Matt Eberflus hire. You got gift wrapped Justin Fields. It was a miracle that he fell to where he fell, and that Ryan Pace's parting gift for the Chicago Bears was to trade up because of his relationship with the New York Giants to get him. And what do you do with that? You hire a new GM, good move, and then force feed him a coach. Well, that's what happened. You can't say that Ryan Poles went through this huge evaluation process. They were hired like one day after the other.
That's what I'm getting at. It was 3 days before. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was force fed onto him.
And to not value, because you're so afraid of your own shadow after what happened with Matt Nagy, to be so afraid of your own shadow to double down and go with another offensive head coach just shows that you are an inept franchise, that you can't find the right guy. So you're just going to keep going back and forth, defense, then offense, then defense, then offense, and just hoping eventually it's going to work. Well, this didn't work, so we're going to try it the other way. No, do what you tried to do with Matt Nagy, but do it right. Find the right guy. And as I've said before, I don't care if Greg Roman had never ended up being a good head coach. He would have been the right hire in the early year development of Justin Fields, a guy that understands how to cater to his quarterback strengths. A guy that has called plays in this league. Yeah. That's what, and if he didn't work out because he couldn't do the rest, at least he developed your goddamn quarterback.
But listen, this is year 3 for Justin. So let's look at things from a simplistic nature. And you tell me what this says to you. You have a 3rd and 9 in the game today. The game is within reach. 3rd and 9. And you call a bubble screen.
Yep.
So
just like you did last week.
Take your emotion away from that. And if you're the offensive coordinator and that is your play call on 3rd and 9, what does that tell you what Luke Getsy truly, honestly thinks about Justin Fields?
Well, it means 2 things. 1, he doesn't believe in his quarterback.
Yep.
And 2, he doesn't believe in his offensive line, because you could also make the argument that making sure you get the ball out quick has to do with your trust in the offensive line as a play caller. I think it was Matt Forte that might have brought that up on Twitter, and it's twofold, but it's so funny because it's backwards thinking to pigeonhole Justin on a 3rd and 9 this week, 3rd and 7 last week with Chase Claypool on a screen pass. It limits you to only one thing that needs to go right. Your one option is this screen pass has to be executed perfectly, and then you'll get the first down.
And neither of those plays involved your best fucking player on offense.
Right. And what makes more sense is spreading it out, giving Justin as many options as he can possibly look at, and then dealing with the consequences if that doesn't work out. Because one of those options, if it doesn't work out and he can't see the field and he can't find his guys, he'll take off and fucking run. And that's a lot better than, one shot towards Chase Claypool to the sideline, incomplete, walking off the field. To me, it makes absolutely no sense.
No, I get it. And, people, listen, Justin Fields is going to be a lightning rod for people. We had people in our chat when we went live right after the game. You need to get off Justin. Just let him be him and let him play. No, that's not the fucking. You're in year 3 and you can't throw the ball to guys that are wide open. Like you said, not NFL open, wide open. Ass open. And you're not pulling the trigger.
Mitch Trubisky screenshot open. We're already back to that. It's sad, man. So, well, Shane, I don't know how long you want to hang. You're welcome to hang unless you want to go, be with your family. We're going to start bringing on callers here, and Junior's going to yell at them. And I don't know if this will go another hour and a half. It might. And I'll just sit back and watch Junior yell at people, including myself. But I definitely appreciate you coming on and all your insights. And, when we tried to go live here, you reached out and I'm glad you did, because this is, we all got to vent. This is therapy at this point.
It's much, we always go through a process when the Bears, lose another game. Phil and I will say, oh, this is going to be the quickest show that we've ever done. And it never works out that way. We end up going for, at least 2 hours, sometimes more than that, but it's always therapeutic to me. Once you get going, it's, a very healthy release to get some of this off your chest. And that's why we do what we do, because it all, fans are, I always laugh when our wives or girlfriends or just fans in general say, why do you guys let it affect you so much? Well, it's because I fucking love it. You think that I would have a podcast where I'm devoting all these hours on top of having a regular day job if it didn't matter to me and I didn't love it? No, that's why we're good at what we do, and that's why people watch us each and every week and tune in. So yeah, it matters to me, and it matters to you, Greg, and to everybody, Junior, you too. It affects my life. Sometimes I feel bad when I look at my son's 12 and I'm like, look what I did to this. I'm not the dude that, my son's going to pick his own team. Fuck that. No, he was going to be a Bears fan. I'm not going to be afraid to admit it. I made him a fucking Bears fan.
Well, we'll be calling social services.
Yeah.
You know what my son told me yesterday? He goes, hey, Dad. I go, what's up? He goes, I don't think I want to root for the Chicago Bears anymore. I go, why is that, buddy? He goes, well, because I just always see her like upset, and I don't like when you're upset. I go, okay, well, who do you want to root for? I swear to fucking God. He goes, I think I want to root for Patrick Mahomes because I like the color of his jersey and I like his hair.
Yeah.
So my son is now a Chiefs fan. We were at the mall yesterday for 45 minutes looking for a fucking Patrick Mahomes.
Boy.
So.
Yeah, you're better dad than I am.
So make him sleep outside. Yeah, and damn well Matt Nagy's licking his chops. If you thought the Patrick Mahomes counting on his fingers was bad, wait till whatever Mahomes.
It's going to be so Bears
next week.
It's going to be so Bears that like one of two things are going to happen next week. The Bears are going to go out to Kansas City and Arrowhead and somehow get a win. I don't see it happening. I wouldn't bet on it. Or like Greg
Junior's doing cocaine live on
No. Or like Greg said, Matt Nagy's sitting there with his fucking BU fucking playbook. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to run this. And he's dropping a fucking 50 burger on us. I can't wait.
And
I can't
Mahomes
wait.
is that
And that's
type of guy
that's what's going to start their offense too, to where they
promise
rally
you.
off 10 wins in a row.
Mahomes is that type of guy too that's going to stick up for his guy. He knows the arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Mahomes knows the arrows Nagy got in Chicago. So he's
Yep.
going to make a point for his guy to show us up and then do whatever, counting on their hands or, a big BU.
Especially
playbook,
as they're
fucking,
Shane, I'm sure you heard it on ESP 1000 before you get going when Lucas was on with Carmen and Yurko. He was asked, did him and Pace ever sit down and talk about Trubisky? He said a year into it, they sat down after the season and knew they fucked up and they picked the wrong guy. And then he was asked, why not Mahomes? What did you guys think of Mahomes? He goes, we thought Mahomes was too dangerous. He wasn't a safe pick, and we just didn't think he was that guy. And then they said with Watson, what scared them was his physical build and possible injuries in the future. They thought Mitch was the safest pick. And so Mahomes is going to be counting at 10 again. I can't.
Right, and the separator beyond all that is everybody gets excited and they're like, well, we had Mahomes QB2. No, but you had such a disparity in that grading system that you had to give up assets to move up one spot because you miscalculated absolutely everything. There was that big of a difference in your grading system between Mitch Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes. I knew nobody that had Mitch Trubisky QB1 that year.
Nope.
Nobody.
Nope. It's inexcusable. It's
not we. The Bears did. Ryan Pace. I mean,
it's one thing to miss on a first round pick. It's another thing to reach on a first round pick and then miss on him, and that's where it becomes unforgivable. Shane, for those, obviously everybody that's watching,
and it got better in the second round that year. We got Adam Shaheen.
Yeah, we got Shaheen. Yeah. Who needs George Kittle? So for the people that may not know what you're doing or where you're from, why don't you let them know before you go? Obviously, I highly doubt there's anybody watching that doesn't already know this, but go ahead.
Yeah, the Tape Never Lies Network. We base everything that we do on tape breakdown. We make a lot of enemies because sometimes we say things that people don't want to hear because we base it on tape, like I said, and it is what it is. We do have a Patreon that we do a lot more in-depth analysis on. It's over at thetapeneverlies.com. So go over there, check it out. It's $7 a month. We got about 800 people subscribed over there to our Patreon program. And we go live there just about every day this time of year, it seems like, and then just break everything down for people live on air with, former Bears like Eric Kramer and Chris Zorich, and really get into depth and explain to you what's happening. We always tell people if you don't know what a 3 technique is or you don't know what their role is, we will explain it to you. There's no stupid questions. So that's what we do over there. So check it out, thetapeneverlies.com. Sign up, check it out. If you don't like it, you can bounce after a month and it costs you $7. But if not, you stay with us, and I think you'll become a smarter fan.
Well, again, appreciate you coming on here tonight. Obviously, we're going to do more of these as our schedule dictates, and the door is always open for you and T3P, obviously. But
he crawled back into a hole pretty quick there.
Got a little scared.
Well, this ain't CHGO, so we're going to handle the chat a little differently over here. So I appreciate you coming on, and you, obviously, you and Phil, you guys know how much I appreciate you guys having my back. Keep up the great work, and we'll catch you back on a stream here shortly.
All right. Well, hey, at least your Cubs are losing too. So
fuck.
Go Dodgers.
God,
have a good one, man.
Get out of here. There goes Shane. Another division championship for the Dodgers, but we'll see if they ever actually win a World Series that isn't a Mickey Mouse World Series like they got in the COVID year, which that one doesn't count, Junior, just for the record. Let's start bringing in callers. We won't go crazy with this tonight. I did send out the link. Viper, our guy here, was the first one to take the call, so he's going to be the next man up now that Shane's gone. Next man up, indeed. How we doing tonight, Viper?
I wish I was here on better circumstances, but that's all right, man. I'm glad I'm here. I appreciate you sending out the invite, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. That's what we want to do. We want to give Bears fans a platform to voice their frustration and give their opinion and stuff. So we appreciate you jumping on. And so that's basically it. I'm going to give you the floor. Give us whatever thoughts or takes you have or questions, whatever you got for us, man. Go ahead, fire away.
So this is all bad, man. It's all bad. But I have been a staunch supporter of Justin Fields since the day that we drafted him. All the ups and downs he went through last year and the flashes that he showed, I'm like, all right, we're going to get him some help this year. And this year he should take that next step forward. I felt like he had, I said something on Twitter to the effect that it got me a lot of look. Like I said that I feel like Justin Fields is more dangerous than Pat Mahomes because he has the arm and the legs. I mean, I know Pat can move, but he can't move like Justin. And then you get these first two games. And today is the first time, Bragg, that I actually have questions about Justin Fields because the dude is just taking too much time standing back there in the pocket, man. I mean, yeah, we talk about the line and how the line is not the best, but I feel like today the line was a lot better than last week. He had time to do some things back there today, and he just sat back there, called his girlfriend, his mama, his daddy, and just didn't do anything. And I'm like, bro, all these people running free in the secondary, and you're not doing anything. And what makes it even worse is that not only is he sitting back there for like 5-6 seconds, he's taking needless sacks. Like, what happened to the Jackson Fields of last year when you were running around all day, running for 1,000 yards, different things like that? And now he's just taking needless sacks. Like, it's like a different dude from last year. I just don't understand, man. So, I listen, I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Justin Fields yet. I want to give him this entire season to see where he goes. But after today, I'm starting to have questions, man. Like, Justin, what happened, brother? What happened? What happened?
So,
well, the good thing is during that whole rant, Justin Fields is still holding on to the ball. So we have that.
Right? Probably.
You know, instead of his original 5-step drop back, he's dropped back about 46 steps now. So
yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, we all want the best for Justin Fields, but and I think the road we're going to start creeping down. We saw a little bit of this at the start of last year before Fields broke out is, hey, why aren't you giving Justin Fields as much time as the quarterback from New York? Mitch got 4 years. Daniel Jones is getting how many years? He got a second contract. He sucks. Mike Glennon's been in the league for 12 years. How many opportunities? I mean, the Bears gave him like a $50 million deal to be their starting quarterback, and he had proven he had sucked 5 times over at that point. But with Justin Fields, you're not going to give him that opportunity. And what I'd say to those fans at this point is just the context that you have to acknowledge is that we've been down this road before.
Way too many times.
At some point, you have to acknowledge what's right in front of your face. We can all dream and hope and project and rationalize and try to make sense of everything that's happening. But when the results are the exact same, you kind of just have to accept what is happening and what are you going to do to fix it? There's 2 options. The light bulb comes on for Justin, or you get rid of everybody, including the quarterback, and you reset. And nobody likes to reset, and we can keep going through this cycle, and it's never going to work out, and I can totally understand where fans come from in that regard. But if we can't play this in a vacuum. If Justin Fields would have been a great quarterback had he been on a different team and we're ruining him, well, if he's ruined, he's ruined. You know, if you buy a Lamborghini and then you don't fucking change the oil and the engine's shot, it's not a Lamborghini anymore. The engine's shot. You got to get a new engine. And the Bears may very well have ruined Justin Fields. Wow. Maybe his potential could have been something totally different. But at the end of the day, if he's ruined, he's ruined. Now, like you, Viper, I'm not willing to throw in the towel yet. We still got games to be played, but we're almost there, man. We're rounding third on the decision because this isn't Justin Fields in his second or third year. Like Shane brought up earlier, this is his third year with the 4th year option coming up. And you have a decision to make. It's not just about his development arc. It's about the contract that you'll have to inherit depending on how you're going to do this with 2 first-round picks in your back pocket that could potentially be very valuable and high up in the rankings. So to me, there's more layers to the discussion of why you might have to move on from Justin Fields. And I'm hearing the echo. Everybody keeps saying in the chat, I don't know what the fuck's going on with the echo. I got this brand new microphone, so maybe it's something on my end.
Here's a question I have. We said when Shane was here, history tells you a GM will get his quarterback. You're going to get at least your shot with your guy, right? Like Ryan Pace came in. There was Jay Cutler. Yeah, you're not working out here. Brought in the fucking Giraffe. That was obviously a bridge year. And then brought in Mr. Trubisky after that. That didn't work, and they canned him. You know, his one last goodbye, like Greg said, you know, was, hey, here's Justin Fields. You're welcome. I hope you can do something with it. Do you think having the number 1 pick last year, if there was a guy there that Ryan Poles wanted, was he taking a quarterback at number 1, or was he sold on Justin Fields? Because if he was sold on Justin Fields, he is just as much to blame than anyone else of his development, of his regression, him not developing properly. He is to blame too. So that's my question: if he was sold on Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, does he trade that pick? And do we have a new quarterback here?
Here's my thing. I think I've heard people on Twitter today blaming Ryan Poles and saying Ryan Poles has a hand in what's happening with the team. And I'll give you a little bit, but Ryan Poles he upgraded some of the positions. He got upgraded for the offensive line. He upgraded the defense line a little bit. No, you're like, no?
He didn't. He didn't. No, he didn't. If Ryan Poles can go back to March, and granted, there's things going on, he wouldn't re-sign Nate Davis. Braxton Jones, I don't care what anyone says, absolutely sucks. He's terrible. Darnell Wright's a rookie. Say what you want. He has not looked good. You're a top 10 pick. Perform like a top 10 pick. End of story. There's no excuses. Your interior offensive line is getting their ass whooped every single snap. And that's not saying like, oh, you know, this is why Justin sucks. There's reason as to why Justin has sucked the first 2 games. But the interior offensive line is terrible. Your left tackle is not good. Yeah, I heard people last year, he made the all-rookie team. I don't care what he made. When you get into Canton, they're not saying Walter Payton made the all-rookie team. He is an offensive line guru. You did nothing. You neglected it. Say what you want about Ryan Pace and the Mitch Trubisky era, but you know what they did in 2018? They put a fucking team around him on both sides of the ball. Ryan Poles has not done that. And I don't want to hear the people say he doesn't have the fun. Viper, you're turning your head. He hasn't. He hasn't. Because that defensive line still sucks and that offensive line still sucks. They can't get to the quarterback. When they do get to the quarterback, they can't finish a goddamn tackle and they can't protect their quarterback.
Okay, Joe, let me ask you something real quick. At least on paper, I mean, not understanding what we've seen so far in the first 2 games. On paper, would you agree that the team that the Bears fielded in week 1 was better than what we ended up with last year?
The team or the offensive line?
The team as a whole.
Sure.
So if you agree with that, then you have to acknowledge to some extent that Ryan Poles.
There is people on Twitter that call him King Poles and a great talent evaluator. That's my problem with it. When you sit here and these dumbass fans come in and week out, I'm not saying you, Viper, by any means. Right. There is fans that sit here and say King Poles, great talent evaluator. What have you done? You drafted a 25-year-old receiver in the 3rd round who had 1 play today. And it didn't, you're laughing, but it didn't help this fucking team. He has not helped this team. He has been a detriment to this team with Velus Jones.
You're right. I can't say nothing about Velus.
Nothing he has done has helped this fucking team.
Nope.
Nothing. And I'm so sick of hearing it. I'm so sick of it. I've watched this team for 20 fucking years, and it's the same thing. I had this piss poor organization at 6-11 this year, which I thought was fucking improvement. They're not even going to do that. This is the most embarrassing time in the last 40 years of this fucking organization. And Ryan Poles deserves heat. You had $110 million fucking dollars, and you did nothing with it to help that offensive line. Nothing. That is where my problem is. And then you got people who say, I made a tweet earlier. There is people who say, well, this offensive line sucks. We can't grade Justin Fields properly. But then you got those same people who said, well, the offensive line's better than it was last year. Pick a side. Pick a side. Is the offensive line good and Justin sucks? Or is the offensive line suck and Justin's good? Which one is it? Go ahead. I'm sorry for the rant.
That's all good, man. I think it's a little early to put the jury out on Darnell Wright. I mean, there's only 2 games in the league. So, I mean, obviously
100%, 100%, 100%.
A little early, but top 10 pick. You hope he gets better over the time, but we don't know. Brad, what are your thoughts, man? Do you think Ryan Poles upgraded the team at all?
Greg, can I say one thing really quick?
Let me just say real quick, just for those, because I saw T3P was asking in the chat, what's the link? I'm posting the link. The link's in the chat. I'm posting it right here on the front of the screen. Those of you that are tuned in, if you want to jump in, a couple people have reached out to DMs asking if the door is open. Nobody does this. Nobody does a stream and puts the link on Twitter.
Yeah, that's dangerous, man.
Any of the 17,000 people that follow me are welcome to come on. I open the door to anyone, even my biggest haters.
You're a brave man.
Here.
I love it.
And the door is open at the end of the day. So T3P, if you use this exact link you see on the screen, it's also in the chat. Come on.
That's
come
right.
on
Use the link, people. Use the link. Let's go.
Use the link.
Use the link.
But Viper, let me get because we got another guy here in the back room. Let's get your last opinion on this. Junior, you can scream at him some more if you want.
I just want to say one more thing, and I'll let him have the floor.
Yeah.
Ryan Poles, Greg and I talked about this earlier. I brought it up. Ryan Poles was such a big character guy. Such a big character. I'm not bringing in people into Hallis Hall that I don't think are good off the field, blah, 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 blah. And you brought in another fucking TikTok star in Chase Claypool. I have some best friends that are out in Pittsburgh that they despise Chase Claypool because of how he acts off the field and even his immaturity. And we've seen it. That same Ryan Poles who brought him in is the same guy who said, I'm not taking Jalen Carter because of his off the field issues and his immaturity. Well, let me tell you what, Ryan Poles. I've heard I'm not a talent evaluator. I'm not a GM. I'm just a fan, and I'm going to always be a fan because I'm not smart enough to run an organization. But I do know one thing. When there's a 3 technique who some project to go number 1, you don't pass up on him. And he's flourishing pretty good in Philadelphia. And you know what you can use right now, Ryan Poles? A 3 technique. And I saw in the comments, somebody brought up that you could have paid Orlando Brown Jr. You could have. You had all the money. You could have put him at left to right, wherever you wanted to. You could have put him at left and said, hey, Braxton Jones, sorry, you're going to right. But you didn't want to do that. So Ryan Poles deserves criticism.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question he does. But unless they're going to just whitewash the entire thing, there's going to be a pecking order of blame. And typically it's the person who's been here longest that gets the blame first, and then you work your way down the list. So, to me, that's why Justin Fields' name is going to be on the chopping block, because Ryan Poles came in. He didn't draft this quarterback. He's given him the opportunity. Where it gets tricky is how you decipher how much of Matt Eberflus is Ryan Poles' guy, as we pointed out earlier. The way he was signed 2 days after Ryan Poles was hired doesn't give you much confidence that it was a Ryan Poles decision. But at the end of the day, I'm not letting Ryan Poles skirt responsibility for somebody he hired on his watch, just like I'm not going to let Eberflus skirt responsibility on the plays being called because he's no longer a coordinator, and we're just going to blame everything on Getsy and Allen Williams. When Roschon Johnson only gets one more carry after breaking off that 30-yard run in the first half, that's just as much on Eberflus as it is on Luke Getsy, but everybody's going to be hyper-focused on Getsy. Same thing when it goes to Ryan Poles. When the coaching staff can't develop the players and you're the one that picked the coaching staff, you can scapegoat Matt Eberflus and send him packing at some point this season or after the season is over. But that's a X on your resume. You got that one wrong. You don't get to just point the finger at McCaskey and go, well, they force-fed me that, so that one doesn't count. It counts, Ryan. And I understand you were a young GM and it was your first time getting a job like this, and maybe that was what the agreement was for you to take this job. But if that's what it was, I mean, look at Ian Cunningham. He passed on the Arizona job. Maybe Arizona told him, hey, if you want this job, you got to do this, that, and the other, and you can have it. And he was like, I don't want it. Goodbye. Bruce Arians, when he came here and interviewed for the Chicago Bears, he sat in a room with George McCaskey and Ted Phillips, and Mark Silverman reported that he said, if I take this head coaching job, you're sending Jay Cutler packing. And they said, sorry, that's not happening. See you later. So he gave them a criteria of if I take this job, this is how I'm doing it. And at the end of the day, Ryan Poles should have stepped in that room and said, if I'm taking this job, I'm hiring my coach. So I don't exactly know how it all broke down, but at the end of the day, it's on your watch. It's your responsibility. Maybe George McCaskey and Kevin Warren are going to give you one more bite of the apple and let you pick another head coach and let you pick your first quarterback. And I think that probably is the right move to make. I do feel like he's improved the roster. So that's why I lay it more at the feet of the coaching staff. For them to be worse this year than they were last year with the upgrades they did make, players that have proven resumes in this league, to me, that shows you case in point that it's the coaches. When you can show tape, Robert Schmitz is showing how Fields' drop back is way slower than it was from year 1 to year 3. That's coaching. That's development. You're messing with your prized possession and you're not developing him in a positive fashion. It's getting worse to a point now where we're going into press conferences and Fields is pointing the finger at Getsy. Getsy's pointing the finger at Fields. We've seen that story before in this city far too many times. So Viper, if you got anything else, we're going to cut you loose because we got a couple people waiting in the background. We're going to try to get through some guys before this ends up being a 5-hour show.
I just got one more thing. So
yes, sir.
We're going to Kansas City next week. By all accounts, we're probably going to lose that game. So my question to you guys is, we have Kevin Warren in here. Everywhere Kevin Warren has gone, he has won. So I got to believe that Kevin Warren is not going to accept mediocrity from this team. So at what point do you think a change will be made this season if we keep losing games? Like, we've already lost, 12 in a row? So if we lose Kansas City next week, like we all expect to, that'll be, 13 in a row? So how long before Kevin Warren steps in like, somebody got to go, changes need to be made?
I hope tomorrow. I really do. We said it when Shane was here. I know how Greg feels. People aren't going to be fired as early as tomorrow. I think Shane proved a good point. If anything's going to happen, it's going to be in 2.5 months after the bye week.
See, I think it could happen. I think it could happen the week of the Panthers game. I think that because you have a Thursday night game against the Panthers, that's like right at the midway point of your season. You could wait all the way into the bye week. So I'm with you there. But if it's real bad going into that Panthers game and you're 1-8 or whatever it is, 1-7 leading into that Panthers game, you then have a 10-day window where you could potentially shake the olive branch a little bit.
Gotcha.
I mean, they got that coming up too with with Washington.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But is that too early is the question. So Viper, really appreciate you coming on. You're welcome anytime. We'll continue to try to do these as much as we possibly can this season as our schedules dictate. But when the Bears play at noon, it's a little easier to get these off the ground. Last week I wasn't ducking anybody, but I didn't get home until like 11 o'clock at night. So Junior thought maybe I was ducking him because we got so embarrassed, but looks like we're going to have more than a few embarrassing losses to have to deal with. So we're going to be here and give everyone an opportunity to vent. Nice. So Viper, we appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. Y'all have a good show.
Yes, sir. Bear down always. All right. We're going to go through and one at a time. We got 3 guys in the backstage. So Ryan and Rabbit Jones, you guys are on deck and in the hole, but up next is our guy, Mr. English Bear. Are you coming in incognito, or are you going to give us some of that video so we can see that beautiful smiling face of yours? Are you there, Mr. English Bear, or are you sleeping, or did you pass out from Junior's yelling?
He may have. I may have made him deaf.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, that's good. How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
How's my favorite blagger doing?
Well, time out. What's that mean? What's that mean?
All right, Mr.
What's that mean?
You gotta tell Junior what a blagger is.
Oh man, it's like trying to get into a stadium when you don't have a ticket and you end up in a box.
He calls me a blagger, and he's right. It's a guy that works the angles.
That's right, exactly.
Okay.
Fire away, Mr. English Bear.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, Greg, I don't know about you, man, but I'm totally despondent from watching this absolute trash for the last 2 weeks. I was so hyped for the season, like yourself and like plenty of other Bears fans. But quite frankly, what I've seen on the pitch on the field, I should say, across there, is a disgrace, really. These coaches, they don't seem to have a clue what they're doing, man. They need to be gone, like your colleague says, tomorrow. It's not going to happen, but it needs to. To have Fields, one of your best quarterbacks that you've ever drafted, and turn him into Mike Glennon is a fireable offense right there, man. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like I said, Fields definitely holds accountability. I mean, as somebody asked, like, do you think they're not telling him to, they're certainly not telling him to not read the ball down. I heard people like the conspiracy last week was, well, they've drilled in his head to check the ball down, and that's why he's not looking at wide open guys right in his face 12 yards down the field. That ain't it.
No, exactly.
But I just think the whole thing's got so twisted up now between trying to develop Fields with his footwork and his release and his progression in the pocket and looking at, his progressions of who he's throwing to, that all of it's just become overwhelming for him. And good coaches keep it simple and then build off of that. Bad coaches only know one way how to do something, and they try to force feed that into people that aren't ready for it. And to me, Justin Fields, like, this is an indictment on the coaching staff. Both things can be true. Justin Fields is broken. Justin Fields can't read the field. Justin Fields is making the offensive line look bad. Justin Fields isn't doing good enough and may have to be replaced with a new quarterback next year. But that also it can also mean that it's because of what the coaches have done here. We can't prove that it would have worked out with Andy Reid or somebody else, but I'm fairly confident it would have. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for us as Bears fans or the Bears organization. If they can't figure it out with him, they're going to have to reshuffle the deck. But that doesn't mean just getting rid of the quarterback. It's going to the root of the problem. And this is where we got in trouble with Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky obviously had limitations, obviously wasn't ready for 2.0 of Nagy's offense, and probably never would have been ready for it. But the problem is when you got rid of Mitch, you didn't also get rid of Nagy because you thought that Mitch was the only problem here. And then you ran into that problem again and again and again. He almost got Justin Fields killed in his rookie.
Literally killed.
Nick Foles, who has won a Super Bowl MVP over Tom Brady and also had a season where he threw 30 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's looking at Matt Nagy like, you don't know what you're doing. Nick Foles certainly isn't some perfect quarterback, but that just goes to show you that a guy like Nick Foles with the right coaching can operate an offense. It's coaching too. It's a both situation. So to me, the coaches hold big culpability in this. And if they don't get things on track soon, they're going to be shown the door.
Do you think week 4 when we play in Denver that the Bears fans in attendance are going to be booing the team?
Greg said earlier they're going to boo them coming out for pregame warmups.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they're 0-3, I mean, you're talking about one of the drunkest fan bases I know. I mean, I mean, come on, let's be real. We're either drunk or just jaded, negative ass Bears fans that have been through it for 50 years. And that's where I took exception with Jaquan Brisker getting mad about the fans. Bro, I get it, but you don't know there have been fans that have been doing this for decades. We got Paul Zawicki and Don Wachter, who I promise you Jaquan Brisker doesn't know who those guys are. Those two guys have gone to every home game, and Paul has gone to every home and road game since 1982. And they are not rich. They are blue-collar, hard-working people that use their hard-earned money to go to every game since 1982. They're not booing you personally, Jaquan Brisker. They're booing the disappointment that they've lived with year in and year out, and we're never going anywhere. He says, Bears fans need to have our back more. We're coming to the game.
We come to the game when we win 3 games.
Ask White Sox players what it's like to go to a half-empty stadium. I'm sorry, your White Sox caught a stray here, but that's the point. it could be a half empty. Try playing in front of 10% of fans in the stadium. That's worse than playing in front of a crowd that has expectations and can get upset when things aren't going their way.
I think at the end of the day, fans were here way before Jaquan Brisker, and we're going to be here way after Jaquan Brisker.
The fans pay the money. They can, to an extent, they can do what they want to. They pay the money. They expect the product on the field.
As long as you keep it within the lines.
Booing. There's nothing wrong with booing.
Now I've been in the stands, where they've said awful things to the players as they're coming either in or out of the tunnel. That's unacceptable behavior. But the guy that's in the 400s all the way up where he can basically touch the plane as it flies over. Jaquan can't hear what he's saying. All he hears is the boo echoing from.
Listen, as long as you keep it respectful, like I don't have a problem with fan heckling. I think fans have every right in the world. They're paying their hard-earned money to go see the team that they've cheered for X amount of years. I was at the game 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, against Baltimore, or maybe it was last year. I don't remember. Against Baltimore, where whoever their backup is just beat the shit out of us, and we had Nagy. So it was 2 years ago. It was the year Nagy got fired, and fans are chanting "Fire Nagy." I mean,
and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, this is a business where it's not what have you done for me, it's what have you done for me lately. And at that point, Matt Nagy didn't do anything for the Bears. There was no good to having Matt Nagy around. I firmly believe, I know Braggs has brought it up on here before, I firmly believe they were going to fire him after that Thanksgiving game. And then it broke out that the report was they're firing him, and they said, oh, hell no, we're not. We're not getting rid of him now because then we're going to look like assholes. And that's why he was still around after that Thanksgiving game. But I don't have as long as you keep it respectful, I don't have a problem with it.
So
no, I mean, I've been a fan of this team for nearly 20 years now, and so I've not seen a lot of success. 2018, we won the North. Yeah, that was great. I was actually in the attendance there for the Packers game at home when we clinched it. That was great.
It was quite.
Since then, it's been a decrease in play. The coaches haven't got it right.
That's what we get as Bears fans. Fleeting moments of happiness.
Exactly.
Here's your breadcrumbs. Here's your breadcrumbs. You're never getting the steak.
And they just reel you in, and that's how I feel, because the actual owners don't seem to actually care what they're actually putting on the field, or that's how it comes across anyway. They don't seem to understand that the fans turn up week in, week out, buy all the merchandise, etc. And they expect a product on the field, and they've not had that for as long as I've been a fan of this team. And it's a disgrace, mate. It's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah,
if that was happened to an English club in this country, in England, then they'd get run out. We had a similar situation over this side of the pond with my English football team that I support. The owners were quite inept. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. So as fans, we protested and got them out. It took about 3 months. But we got him out, and I think that's what needs to happen. It starts at the top, and it works its way down.
Yep. Well, Mr. English Bear, I love you. Look forward to, seeing you in person once again at some point down the road. Don't mean to give you the quick exit here, but we're up to an hour and a half here on the show, and we've got about 3 or 4 more callers that want to jump in. So these are probably how a lot of these post games are going to go, is kind of an in and out situation, but the door's always open anytime you want to come on and vent your frustrations.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it, man. And you have a good rest of the show. Good to see you again, hopefully in person very soon.
Sounds good. All right. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Yes, sir. All right. That's Mr. English Bear. He's a fun follow on Twitter. If you haven't, make sure you do. Go ahead and search for him. We got some people jumping in. So like I said to everybody that's lined up, Ryan's up next. Rabbit Jones, you're on deck. Tom, you're in the hole. Just had a DeBoss come in. So, at some point we'll cut it off, but we'll be doing these every week and give people their opportunity. But let's try to, get your thoughts in, get your opinion out there. If you have a question, you can be on for a minute. It's not like we're just going to cut you out right when you're done with your take. But we kind of got to keep things in order to make sure we don't go 4 hours because, my wife and kid want to see me at some point in my life. But that's all right. These Sundays are going to be for Bears, and that's what we're going to do here. So you're on deck. And for the people in the chat, The link is here on the screen. I've seen a few people asking. So coming up next here is Ryan Matthews. I've been on his podcast here before. He does great work, and he's working hard trying to climb the ladder here. So appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I've been asking everybody how they're doing, but I kind of feel like I know the answer to that question.
Dude, I worked today, and thank God I didn't have to watch every bit of that.
Lucky
game,
you,
dude.
man. Lucky you.
Well, okay. So here's the thing, man. I went through the schedule after the game just because I was like depressed and wanted to see if there was any point in winning and watching the games at all this year. So, I mean, going through it, I mean, we play the Chiefs, Broncos, and Commanders. Well, I'll add the Vikings in there as well as the next 4 matchups. And the only one that I see as maybe a toss-up is the Commanders, and they fought hard today as well. That's 4 straight losses there.
Yeah,
and
the
I
Commanders on a short week on the road.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not really in our favor there. We might win against the Raiders, but probably not, in my opinion. We'll lose against the Chargers as well. We might win against the Saints, but probably not. At this point, I mean, going into the season, I thought for sure we were going to be.
You're looking at Carolina might be your first win.
Right. And I thought for sure that we were better than them. But the fact that it's even a question is that's ridiculous. We'll obviously lose to the Lions and Browns. We might tie against the Cardinals despite the fact that they're supposed to be the worst team in the league. You know, that's a joke. Ties are ridiculous.
Is what you're getting at saying
what do we have to look forward
record
to?
might be worse than last year? Is that what you're saying?
That's not my
because I
point.
can't do this anymore.
Here's the thing, right? My point isn't exactly like it's not about the record. It's that at what point do we point the finger at ourselves for being dumb enough for convincing ourselves week in and week out that something's going to change? I mean, at some point in time, you know, we're going to keep watching these games, and every single week, you know, probably around that Thursday or Friday range, we're like, all right, like, you know, a couple guys off the injury report, you know, because everybody's staring at it week in and week out. You know, we'll be all right. You know, maybe we can squeeze it out. Maybe the play calling is going to be a little bit different. But even when it is, you know, we've still got several different, you know, reasons as to why it's not going to change. I watched an hour-long film session. I forget who it was on YouTube. Dude, it was awesome. But Cole Kmet, by the way, we re-signed him and he essentially disappeared. Now, given he's had 9 catches on the season, he had 38 yards today, he had 44 yards last week, but the blocking has been horrible. And that was supposed to be something that he had worked on. And not only that, but like
that's a coaching issue because it's not just Cole Kmet not blocking. That's a coaching issue.
I mean, you want to talk about coaching issue as well. How about, you know, the front office signing Nate Davis? You know, I understand he had a loss to the family. You know, God bless him. Hopefully he's doing okay. But he's been a complete failure of a signing by Poles so far. And why are we putting him out on the field if the entire offseason he was sitting out of practice? I mean,
the message that sends to the other players is, hey, you can do whatever you want and you're going to play. That's a terrible message to send.
I think that one's more bad luck. I mean, with what's going on with him, like you're saying, players looking at it sideways, but at the same time, you don't know what family member it is. And there's different degrees of losing a family member.
100%.
And no matter who it is, at the end of the day, it's a tragic loss for him. And the players also look at how you handle that as an organization and allowance of the human being side of a player. We all understand they make a lot of money. So in that regard, like it's not been great so far. He hasn't practiced, didn't have a great week 1. But at the same time, I also think there's a bit of bad luck when it comes to the signing because of the timing of what he has going on in his personal life.
I don't disagree with you, but and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. What Ryan's trying to say is this man didn't practice all summer. He wasn't at OTAs. I think OTAs he wasn't at. He didn't practice in training camp. He didn't play any preseason, but he's starting week 1. And Eberflus said the other day, when he was out of the practice, when the camera showed Eberflus hugging him or whatever it was, that was the first like actual legit personal day he had. If he wasn't practicing and wasn't playing in preseason, why are you trotting him out there? That is what I'm getting at with the incompetence. Why is he out there?
I'm in my first year as a high school football coach, and we wouldn't put a player on the field that hasn't been to practice, despite the fact he has pads and a helmet in his locker. No matter how good he is, he needs his reps to be able to understand what the game plan is in a week. So you look at, the Packers game, right? Because clearly Nate Davis didn't play this week. That's fine. But you look at the film and everything, dude, he's running into his other linemen, creating holes for the defense to punch through and sack Fields, or run straight in and get Herbert on a run that, just doesn't amount to anything. It just doesn't make sense as to why he's on the field, like you had said. But, going on, because I've got a couple more points and I know you got to get more people in here. So Braggs, dude, I freaking loved it when you brought up the point with EQ on CHGO today. That was awesome. Why are we not playing him? But we're going to complain about Chase Claypool not blocking somebody when this guy is definitely certified to be able to do that. You look at last offseason as well, I'm
not excusing Chase. Chase Claypool is a professional. And when you're a professional, you should be able to do all aspects of your job in some capacity. I don't expect you to be the best at every aspect of your job, but you should know the understanding of how to block and when to block. If you miss a block, so be it. It happens to the best of them. But when you don't know when to block on a screen pass, and maybe it was bad luck, timing, whatever, but at the end of the day, this is what separates the good from the bad teams. And when you haven't worked on it, where your wide receiver who last week wasn't putting enough effort into his block, and now this week doesn't have the timing down to his block, that's coaching.
Right.
And so
exactly.
For me, I don't excuse Chase Claypool from that. He also holds responsibility. But when you show a lack of discipline 2 weeks in a row, whether it's with effort or technique, that shows me that the coaches haven't drilled it into you enough.
Right. Absolutely. And the thing is that he's clueless on the field, and he's had over a year to grasp, or almost a year to grasp that playbook, and a full offseason to do the same exact thing. But, not only that as well, I've got a couple more really quick, and then we can kind of discuss a little bit if you really want to. So another person that I'm really disappointed in, and as far as my expectations were and how awesome I thought that he was going to be in this this defense. How many times, and I know that this is a part of the game, but how many times is Eddie Jackson going to be appearing in this injury report or on the downside of defensive films? Just because, dude, this man is chasing his 2018 prime year harder than he chases the receivers he's supposed to be covering downfield. It's so bad to where, Eddie Jackson has always, he makes maybe a couple plays, but I feel like it's every single year that I'm like, this guy still doesn't know how to tackle. This guy still doesn't know how to do it. And then you have Brisker that's actually somewhat, decent at his job, despite the fact he's only a sophomore, in his NFL campaign. This dude is able to come up and make hits and prove that this guy could be the next big thing. But we've got Eddie Jackson on the opposite side that used to be a Pro Bowler, and he has amounted to absolutely nothing. Speaking of the defense as well, how much draft capital have we invested into that defensive line? How much cap space have we invested into that defensive line? Yet the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to run straight up the gut for seven, I don't know the exact average yards per carry, but dude, it felt like every time they ran it straight up the gut today, it was like, no matter what, they're almost right there on the first down line, to where it's like, why don't you just run it all the time? Because this is working. No way, shape, or form is this run game just being stopped at all. And it's because, dude, we invested a second round pick on Gervin Dexter. And I remember looking at that draft pick and on the podcast that I do mock drafts. And it's to the point to where it's like, I didn't know who this guy was. Chalk it up to me not doing my research or whatever. But it's like, is this a second round talent? We're looking at it right now, and everybody that we could have had as well. You're talking interior offensive linemen that could help your quarterback maybe process and go through his progressions and reads. But instead, he's not able to do that because we're getting the pressure, and we have to waste $30 million a year on Nate Davis that isn't going to show up to practice. we're going to waste it on somebody who we're going to be drafting this position later on in the draft anyway. Like, that just shows that they weren't confident in the pick to me. I understand, like, they wanted depth as well and they want to get younger, but like, that's not confident drafting. If you're really confident in this one guy to be your starter, I feel like you're not looking at that position 2 rounds later. I feel like you're looking at other holes that you still need to fill. And I understand that Poles was sitting here saying, like, look, we're not going to fill every single hole in the offseason, but what is going on in the field right now? I mean, I feel like everybody's expectations were so high. Dude, I made a bet with my co-host that we would make the playoffs this year. And like, this isn't happening. There's no way.
No.
Everybody right now watching this just laughed just like you did.
I laughed at you.
Yeah.
Ryan,
I'm laughing at myself in hindsight.
Yeah, we're all laughing.
Ridiculous.
We laugh to keep ourselves from crying. Ryan, why don't you give everybody a shout on where they can find you in the podcast you're doing so they can go tune into some of the work you do?
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's called the Pigskin Project. We're live every Wednesday night. If you're staying up late, come and watch us at 9:30 Central Time. Otherwise, our podcast is going to be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you could watch the stream back on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, whichever one you'd like. We do several different things, but you can also find us on TikTok to kind of do a recap of different segments that we do, such as our weekly predictions and Pigskin Payout. That's a new one, where if you like to gamble like the addict that I've turned into, then you can definitely check that out. But otherwise, you guys can always find me on my Twitter at Coach Matthews, and then there's just an underscore after it. I'll be linking everything there as well, but I appreciate the plug because not everybody wants to do that as well.
No, I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, I don't mean to shuffle through everybody here on the back end, but we're approaching 2 hours. And when we're going to do more of these. And as I've always said, the door is always wide open. So we'll try as we go. This is kind of the first time we're getting this many callers. We'll try to keep it more organized. Me, Junior, and Shane kind of went long with our first hour breakdown. So it's all good. It's early in the season. We're getting through it, but I appreciate you coming on.
Hey man, I'll shoot you a text lately or soon. That way we can get you on the show as well, man. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. If I ever have a minute not working, I'll make sure to hop on. It's starting
we'll figure something out.
The hours of my availability are dwindling, but I'm always going to make time for you and everybody that supports my end. I always try to pay it back. So I appreciate you, Ryan.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right. That's Ryan Matthews from the Pigskin Project. Let's roll it along. We're going to bring on Rabbit Jones. He's you got a little bit of sound issue going. I'm going to mute your mic here for a second, but we're getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if your connection point is all the way in or if your line is sitting on something here. I'll unmute you, see what's going on. I don't know. Junior, got any advice for our guy here?
I have none.
So like I said, it's like kind of like a high buzzing noise. So yeah, you're muffled.
Yeah, I can barely hear him too.
Yeah. I hate to do it to you because I know you've been patient. Tell you what, Rabbit, if you want, it's something with the BG cancellation somebody's saying in the chat. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But Rabbit, I'll leave this to you if you want, because it's your computer obviously is giving you some issues. If you want to hop on through your phone and hop on just for this time, and then maybe the next time you come on, you'll have your computer situated. I'll give you that opportunity, but just with the noise, I just unmuted you there. It's not going to work. And when you go back and watch it, you'll see what we're talking about. But like I said, use the link through your phone, hop on through there, and you shouldn't have any audio issues, and you come on and give your thought. All right, my man? All right. I apologize for you. But we're going to boot you. And then if you can come on through your phone, you're welcome to come on. All right. Rolling along. Here comes the boss. I'm not sure if he's going to use a camera or not, but you're on the mic with Braggs and Junior. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all. So,
all right. Fire away, my man.
So, I mean, personally, I think a lot of Bears fans are overreacting because they expected too much out of the season. I'm young.
All right, well, before Junior goes completely ballistic on you.
I'm not.
No, it's fine. But that's fine. You think we're overreacting? It's week 2. The Lions started 1-6, ended up with 9 wins. give us your reason why we're overreacting, and your reasons, I should say. It shouldn't just be one, I'd imagine.
Yeah, multiple. Well, I mean, you heard it from the GM himself, Ryan Poles. I mean, this offseason, he kind of let everyone know that this was not going to be a perfect year. We're still rebuilding. And even when he first came, last year's foundation, this year's kind of improvement. But, I mean, other than the quarterback, what positions do we really have better than the Buccaneers? Like, this is the same team that just beat the Vikings the week before. And the Vikings won the NFC North and were like second or third in the whole NFC last year. So, that's kind of that. And I guess
before you go on with the next point, what I would just say to that is it's not transitive. And this is a game that fans play, and we fall into this trap where it's like, well, the Vikings were a good team and the Bucs beat that. The Vikings were a good team last year. The Bucs beat that team this year, and we almost beat the Bucs if not for the final drive. Every week is a different entity in the NFL. Every year is a different entity. So you can't just transfer over. It's the same trap we fall into as Bears fans when we say, well, hey, the Bears, won 3 games last year, but they should have won 6, and now they've added 20 players, and that equals 9 wins. It doesn't transfer over like that. Hold on, Junior, because I want the boss to let's let him finish his entire point, because I kind of cut into this. But what I would just say to that is the math isn't mathing the way you want it to math, is what I'd say.
No, yeah, there's definitely problems you can see with coaching. I definitely think Fields has digressed, and at that point it's a coaching issue, because I think personally quarterback development from college to the NFL and like what you need to succeed is all coaching. I mean, even Brock Purdy, 7th round pick, comes into Kyle Shanahan's offense, last pick in the entire draft, and now you can see him running, and he's on a 12-game winning streak. Obviously, there's some question marks at coaching, which I think is what kind of worries everyone. But if we're just talking about winning, I mean, we've added so many new players to this roster, and they haven't really had a chance to kind of like gel together. I mean, if you look just at the offensive line, I mean, Tevin Jenkins is out. Nate Davis was out. We have a bunch of new additions with Darnell Wright. Pretty much the only person that's playing the same position is Cody Whitehair and Braxton Jones. Now, if you look at teams that
and they suck at it.
I don't know. People want to compare it to Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, the jump or whatever. But they both had solid offensive lines and teams around them that were kind of like the only position that wasn't there was the receiver, I guess. And I didn't really expect that, but I can see why a lot of people did.
Look, and you're getting grilled in the chat, and I know Junior's ready to jump through a wall at you. But what I'll say is I understand where you're coming from. But DeBoss, this is what I'd ask you is where do you draw the line? Because as Chubbs pointed out in the chat, we are approaching an all-time consecutive losses streak in the Super Bowl era. And we all understand that they were essentially trying to lose last year. So that goes within that context. But this year is a different entity. They are no longer trying to lose, which is much worse when you are losing and not trying to lose as opposed to last year. So we're 0-2. Could they turn the light on? Could players get healthy? Tevin Jenkins, Nate Davis return. The chemistry starts to gel. They start to understand each other a little more. I'll leave that open for possibility. We brought that up. We're all hellfire and brimstone right now because it looks real bad. But I am giving this team every opportunity to shut me up and everybody else up and all the overreactionary fans. But at the end of the day, if they just keep coming out every Sunday and having the same results, at some point we have to draw a line as loyal fans to this team that constantly want to give everyone 100 different chances to make up for the mistakes they've made. So that's what I asked you, DeBoss. At what point are you going to draw the line? Where does it end? 0-4, 0-5, 0-6? At what point are you going to hit the panic button when it comes to whatever this offense and team is trying to develop?
I'm
sorry.
But we're just into the second game. I mean, the receivers are getting open, and Fields is playing bad. But I guess if there's any upside here. The receivers are open. This is probably the first time that the Bears have actually had receivers open in legit places to throw it. And I think if Fields can just improve his reads, I think we can legit have a really good offense throwing the ball wise.
You said this is the second. You said there's one thing I agreed with you there, DeBoss, and I'm not going to be rude here. I'm just going to lay it on thick like Beggar's Pizza. You sat here and you just said Ryan Poles said this was not the year. That was the only thing in that whole rant that you said that was correct. That was the only thing. You said it's only 2 games. It's 19 games. And in those 19 games, they lost 16 of them. This past offseason, I think it was Viper, had asked me the question, on paper, did they get better? Yes, on paper, they got better. Now, that doesn't always mean it translates to the field, but they got better on paper, and on the field, they got worse. They are regressing. They did not get better. You should be scared. I'm not saying the Chicago Bears should win a division title this year by any means, but they should show the competitive nature that they had, that they used to end the season. I'm not going to sit here and say they were world beaters last year or even world beaters this year. They were competitive from the Miami game to the end of the season. What has happened the last 2 weeks? Because all of you fucking Bears fans, they got better. Ryan Poles, take back the North. You're muted, Greg.
I did mute. I was trying to give you the floor, but they were supposed to get better, god damn it. And that's why it's so demoralizing for me as a fan who really genuinely felt. I wasn't playing it up as a bit. Somebody said in the chat, I blame you because I saw this coming at camp. I didn't. I understood that there was going to be some development to be had in the deep passing game. That was the one concern I voiced at camp. It's the only thing I got right of the million things I got wrong heading into the season. But I felt that Justin Fields was enough of a playmaker for the Bears to put up points and consistently move the ball. And he's not doing what he did last year for that 6-game stretch. And even outside of the 6-game stretch, he always showed the ability of game-breaking plays happening at any moment. I don't feel that's coming at any point in the last 2 games. It's not there. Now, a lot of guys are being hard on you in the chat, and Junior's getting after you, DeBoss. But this is what I would say to you. You sound like a young buck. You're a young fan here, and you're just going through it. And I know where you're coming from, man. We all hope for the best. And I don't want to rid you of that with your fandom. You should continue to try to hope against hope. That's what being a fan is all about. Me and Junior have been through it many times. We're jaded. And as you get older, you run into the crotchety old Bears fan that literally hates the team that he roots for. And I hope I never become that fan. But but you cannot blame those old timers because they've been through it a lot worse than us. There are Cubs fans that I know that lived 90 years of their life and died before they ever saw the Chicago Cubs win a World Series. And I could never imagine in my wildest dreams, and I'm 38 or something like that right now, or going to be 38 or whatever age I am. I lost track. But if I get to 90 years old and the Bears have never won a Super Bowl, that's the most depressing fucking thing I think I could ever think of in my entire life. So you've got time on your side, so you can hope against hope, and I appreciate the positivity. You came into the storm. Justin Fields says we're in a storm right now. You walked into the storm and tried to bring hope to the show. So for that, I appreciate you. And everybody might be hard on you here in the chat, but you know what? I'll tell you this much. Keep the hope alive, my friend, because if everybody else is if everybody's zigging, you want to zag, as long as you're being authentic to who you are as a fan, then I highly encourage that, my friend. I don't mean to kick you out of here, but as I said, we're about 2 minutes away from hitting the 2-hour mark, and we got one more caller to come on. So if you got a final thought you want to give, go ahead and fire away, my friend.
I mean, I don't know. I guess my final thought was a lot of the on paper players we got better with are really young, and I think like rookie right tackles, Andrew Thomas or whoever Giants drafted to tackle, he was horrible first year, but throughout time he ended up getting better, which I think is just an example of some people just take time, and I think that's teams. Super Bowl teams aren't built in one off season, and heading into next off season, we still have the most cap. So I think you don't build. I mean, Ryan Poles is staying true to his word and building through the draft, and he's not just going out like pace and overspending on people, and that's kind of the reason why we don't see this jump, and we're kind of disappointed. And the one thing that I'm really I hate is Luke Getsy, because, I mean, last season, his whole rushing offense people credit him for was pretty much just bad pass protection that Fields scrambled out of. So I'm a really big hater on Getsy, but I think also, yeah, defensive coordinator too, not going to lie. But I think in general, I think it's going to work. People are just too hard on him.
I mean, and you know what? 20 years ago, fan bases and teams used to be much more patient, and it seems like nowadays they cut the cord a lot quicker on quarterbacks, coaches. There used to be a much longer allowance period, it seems, in football back in the day than now. I mean, if you could imagine a guy like John Elway, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing Justin Fields to John Elway, but John Elway spent his whole career not winning a Super Bowl until the final last 2 years. He would have never made it in this day and age in Chicago, failing to win a Super Bowl for like 16 years. Bill Cowher with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a great head coach, took him his entire career to win a Super Bowl. We would have been begging for the reset button every year here in Chicago, especially in this day and age with a coach like that, because at the end of the day, we want that ultimate prize. Lovie Smith got fired after a 10-win season at one point in his career, and probably the best head coach of my lifetime. So, to me, I understand where you're coming from. Not many are going to preach patience right now, and that's what you're trying to do. And I can look on the other side of the coin, as upset as we all are, and we're fueled by our emotion and our anger towards this team. I can understand where you're coming from, but I just think they, like Justin Fields said after the game today, and this is what I'd say to you, got a long way to go, man, as far as the issues that need to be fixed. So I understand that you want to have patience and be hopeful that it's going to get turned around, but just listen to your quarterback. He's telling you they got a lot to fix and a long way to go before that happens. So let's hope that at some point it does, DeBoss. And like I said to the other callers, you're welcome on here anytime. Keep the door open. Door's always open for you and anybody else that wants to hop on. So we appreciate you hopping on tonight.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you too. That is DeBoss bringing hope to a very hopeless post-game show here on Bears in the Stands with me and Junior. Be nice to the young buck.
I'm not. Listen, we've all been there, right? We've all been that young kid who we try to be as optimistic as possible. You brought it up to him. I've been watching this team for 20 years. You 30. Dre in the chat 60. I saw one guy in there, Mike Breland. He said, "Where's his comment? Where the hell is that?"
I'll give you the keys to the car here for the next one, so you can.
He goes,
pulling up your
"That's
comment.
me. I'm 50 and grouchy." That sums it up. Sums it up. We're all pissed off.
Yep. Like I said, next time I'll give you the keys so you can also get in here and pull up comments of your own. So we got one more caller to come in. Sorry to our guy earlier. I forget his name now, but that is his audio didn't work. We'll get you on next show. Final caller of the day. Sazai. How do we say
have fun with that? Zion.
I like that.
So I was the one that you called out earlier. I forgot what the comment was all about. I think it was about being patient, kind of like what the boss was talking about. But I just found this podcast and I found it very entertaining. But that was literally my first comment here. Never seen it before. But
yeah, well, I appreciate you tuning in. This is what we're going to be doing here week to week. I'm on CHGO Bears. If you haven't heard of those guys, I'm on there. I'm the meatball of the crew, and Hadn't done much on my channel from a football standpoint for a couple years now. I've been covering a lot of Purdue basketball on here, but I obviously started this channel as for Bears coverage. So we're bringing it back now that I've gone full time, and I was a bricklayer for 20 years, and now I'm a full-time sports talking head. So when I'm not working at CHGO, I come home and then I come back on here for 2 more hours of fun bitching about the Bears. So I'm glad you found the channel. We'll continue to do these after every game as much as we can. It's always going to be as our schedule dictates. Try to maybe get some shows in during the week with interviews with guys. Me and Junior interviewed Jason McKee a few weeks ago during the preseason. So this is what we kind of do here. We vent, we scream, we yell, we laugh. Maybe one day we'll laugh
about the Bears.
So do you have any thoughts before we let you go and kind of put a bow on this show?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a bit more patience with everyone, but I don't think that how some people were talking about it, like, oh, we need to give them like 2 years or something like that. I think you need to look at it from a point of, okay, are they improving from game to game, or is it stagnating? You need to pull the trigger if it's absolutely stagnating by, like, let's say, if we go to their schedule, the Raiders, that would mark a year since we haven't won a game. And that is absolutely unacceptable. Right? And, I mean, there's some games where you just gotta win. Like, Commanders, you should have won, but I would argue that the Buccaneers are probably a better roster than the Packers. They have wide receivers to support everything, which is very crucial to a quarterback if they can read, which has been obviously a Fields' problem. But saying that we need to trade him right now or put in Bagent, you know what type of message that would send to the team? That we just don't know what the hell we're doing, right? What the hell is that going to do to the mentality of the team? It's just going to shatter everything. I mean, you look at like the Lions last year when they pulled it around about halfway through. And if you see that steady improvement, you got to just hope. But again, got to take it constructively. Don't. If you lose every game, including the Raiders, just no. What were you going to say?
Nothing. I was just adding to what
this
you're
is.
saying.
This is the Chicago Bears with a towel over their fucking head, just clocked out. They're done. They're dead. Okay.
They're not dead.
You saw DJ Moore on the fucking bench today. Clocked out. Okay.
All right, motherfucker. Jeez. You try playing in full pads in that fucking heat. Matt Nagy don't even have a fucking hat on.
Dude, Matt Nagy.
He said end the show.
Whatever the fuck is failure of it.
But we also have, like, what was it? 41 new players in the last 2 years? It's insane.
Yeah, it's a complete overhaul. It'll be interesting to see if they can turn the corner with Fields, because as DeBoss pointed out, there are guys open. So if he can just start finding them consistently, then we'll have something, and maybe that'll occur. It needs to happen a lot faster than it did, because I think last year he said the second Packers game, which was in December, was the most comfortable he felt as a quarterback for the Bears. And if you go back and watch that game, Fields was ripping it. He looked very comfortable. It cannot take all the way until December for the light to come on for Fields with the offense and the players he has this year, or else
I completely agree.
Yeah, or else
like I said, the Raiders game.
Right. So
1 year.
The hourglass has already been turned over, and the sand is starting to trickle out, and you only got a little bit left before anybody's going to allow it to be turned back. Say your name one more time so I don't butcher it.
Zion.
I really appreciate you coming on here. Again, don't mean to shuffle everyone in and out so quickly.
Yeah, I just have one more thing.
Yeah, have at.
If we were to pull the trigger right now, what would we look like? The Houston Texans the Browns or the old Lions.
We've already pulled the trigger and we look like the Chicago Bears.
What do you mean pulled the trigger on what?
On taking out the coaching staff this fast.
Yeah, I mean,
because I think you see everyone calling for it, and it's just like,
yeah. Well, at some point, because you're trying to understand who your quarterback is, if Luke Getsy can't find that, and they're trying to find answers, they're not going to just let. I mean, to me, they may just let this play all the way into the end of the year and then just get rid of the coaching staff and the quarterback. But your last ditch effort, if you're Ryan Poles, to try to find out who Justin Fields is to get rid of the play caller. I mean, this is essentially what happened with Matt Nagy when he was at the end of his rope here in Chicago.
yeah.
Who
was it that took over?
First, he took Bill Lazor. First, he blamed Mitch. Mitch won the starting job over Nick Foles. Then Mitch, the first sign of failure, brought in Nick Foles and was like, okay, see, Nick's going to fix everything. 3 games into that, Nick Foles is yelling at him on the sidelines on a Monday Night Football game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then about 3 weeks later, now it's Matt Nagy that had to give up the playbook to Bill Lazor. Somehow they sneak their way into the playoffs and all this craziness happens. But at the end of the day, that's where we're meeting, is at some point they're going to have to change what they're doing from a play calling standpoint to see what they have in Justin Fields. Because if they never find out, then they're just going to cut the cord on everyone entirely.
I completely agree.
And Ryan Poles is looking at this from a business standpoint like, hey, I got to find out, Luke, you're not going to be my guy, but I at least got to find out who this guy is without you to see if you were the problem. And then if they get rid of Luke and he's still the problem, then you have your answer. But if you just keep both of them together, you'll never – and it can go the other way, and I'm going to address this when you get off, because the other way could be if they think it's Justin that's the problem and it's not Luke Getsy, then you bring in Tyson Bagent and you see if it's a Fields problem. That's the only way that you're going to be able to. If you just keep both of them together and they never change anything, how are you able to assess who the problem was? You got to find out who the common denominator is. So I'm going to let you go, but I appreciate you hopping on. As I've said to everybody, the door is always open for you to come on anytime you want.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. And I just want to say, it seems like what you were saying, Getsy had or schemed open a wide open wide receiver, or he put a screen and Justin Fields had nothing to do. And there's no in between.
I got you. All right. Thanks
again
for coming on. Welcome anytime, my friend.
Yep. Bye.
All right. So that's our final caller of the day. Football CF Candy. I know I always see in the CHGO chats. You know I love you, and I wish I could bring you on here. We're going to be doing these every week after every game. As soon as I get home from CHGO Studios, we're going to try to go live and bring on callers. Maybe we won't go as long on our personal breakdowns before we start just letting the callers kind of unload, and then Junior can unload on the callers, and that's kind of how these things are going to go week to week. So next game, I promise you can be first in line if you want to come on. So I apologize, CF, but we'll get you on here soon. And then we also got to figure out, because it's either me or you, Junior, that's getting feedback on our mic, but we'll get it figured out because I just got this mic, so it might be me. Regardless, though, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The one thing I did want to address, though, when it comes to Mike Withrow, he's putting this a lot in the chat, so I want to address it. I'm not avoiding this topic. He says, on a good note, the more everyone wants to blame the coaches and polls, the sooner we'll see Bagent get to start. They'll need to prove to the fans the problems, Fields not being able to read the play from the pocket. And I understand where you're coming from, and that is the $1 million question. Who are they going to cut the cord on first? And this is what we were just talking about with Zion. What was his name? God damn it, I'm going to butcher it. Zion. Who they're going to cut the cord on first to try to get to the crux of who the issue is. Are they going to cut the cord on Luke Getsy as a play caller first, or are they going to cut the cord on Justin Fields as QB1 first? You have this interesting young prospect in Tyson Bagent who showed a quick processor, albeit with second and third string players, but at the end of the day, he was gripping it and ripping it. if Fields were, I mean, he's not active on the roster, and I find that really interesting, and I think that's a misstep for the Bears because I want Justin Fields to work out as much as anyone, but what does it hurt to have him as your backup? And if Fields has to come out for a series or two, and now Bagent comes in and he shows what Mike Withrow thinks he's capable of, now you might have your answer to
exactly
whatever this problem is. But the one thing I'll say quickly, and then I'll let you have your take on this, but the one thing I'll say to this, and everyone just kind of assumes that Tyson Bagent, this is what we went through with Mitch. Mitch is the problem. Mitch can't read a defense. Get Mitch out. Everything will be okay. Oh, look, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Had 1 year where he threw 30 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's going to just operate the offense like a professional. He's got a quick processor. He can read the field. It didn't fix anything because the problem isn't just the quarterback. It's the system. And this system is not conducive for a quarterback, especially trying to develop a young quarterback. And if Tyson Bagent were to come in here and Roschon Johnson gets in the I formation and rips off a 30-yard run, and then you only give him the ball one more time the rest of the game, Tyson Bagent will fail in this offense as well. Because if you're just going to consistently put him in shotgun when he's not ready, because that's the key, you have to build him up to this dream of this top quarterback in the league. You don't go from potential to bang, you're Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. You have to work yourself up to that ladder, especially when you have an offensive line that's injured and young, especially when you have new wide receivers that haven't built chemistry, especially when you have a second-year play caller still trying to figure out what his identity is. You have to take things slowly, and this team just has never understood that concept. If you look at the Green Bay Packers, they have a good offensive line, a play caller that has an understanding of what he wants to do, and a running game that helps the quarterback develop. And Jordan Love, 2 weeks in a row, has thrown 3 touchdowns in both games. He's not Aaron Rodgers, ladies and gentlemen, but he's able to do that because they have an environment conducive of developing a quarterback. Brock Purdy steps into the San Francisco 49ers role because they have an offense conducive to develop a quarterback. The Chicago Bears do not. So anyone that thinks Tyson Bagent is just going to come in here and solve all our problems, I think you may have another thing coming.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you on Bagent being the number 2. I do think he should be the number 2. You already know what you have in Nathan Peterman, which is nothing. So you want Nathan Peterman to be the emergency quarterback? That's perfectly fine. And like you said, what if Fields has to come out for a drive? And let's say that drive, Bagent drives down the field and we get 3 or 6, then you're going to start thinking to yourself, do we give him another drive? Do we let him finish out the quarter, whatever it may be? But in my opinion, I don't think we see Tyson Bagent unless there's an injury to Justin Fields. I don't think you can take Justin out when I do agree this is the year to evaluate him and see if he is the guy, because that 5th-year option is a serious thing. So again, I don't think we see Bagent unless there's a serious injury to Justin.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I agree. Look, I think I fixed. Unmute your mic. I think
you sound better.
I fixed the echo. I apologize to everyone that's tuned in and made it through all the echoing. I just got this new microphone. My guy Hayes, who is running a great Bulls channel, everyone should be following. He's a good follow on Twitter as well. He called me out. I had a blue, one of those blue mics.
You had this thing. You had this thing.
Is that what you got? Well,
yeah,
whatever.
It sucks.
And so he called me out, and so I had to get the upgrade now that I'm corporate. So I just did a little adjusting in the audio settings, and now after 2.5 hours of ranting, the echo is gone. But I promise you, after every show we do, we're going to get better with every show. So Mike Withrow saying he can hardly hear me now. So like I said, this is a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. I just got this mic literally today and tried to install it, as I got home. So it's not quite the big leagues. Michael Gordon says my mic should be gold for the Purdue Boilermakers. And yes, I did see Charlie Jones return a kick to the house for the Cincinnati Bengals. Never hurts to have more Purdue Boilermakers on your team. I'm not going to fight you there, but so that wraps things up here for today. Junior, if you got any final thoughts, make them quick. If you don't, everyone can.
Guys, it's I hate it, but 0-4 is
Can we just 0-3
is gonna hurt
before we get to 0-4? Jesus Christ!
I've already conceded week 3, brother. I've already conceded. It's a Matt Nagy revenge tour. It's gonna happen. That's when their offense is gonna wake up, and we're still gonna be sleeping.
It would be so Bears to
if they won
this week.
It would.
It would be. I mean, it's not going to happen. But that's why it would be so Bears for it to happen and literally bring everybody back in. You know, it would, and then we'd be like fooled again, right? Because they win.
Think about it.
When, you know, like, it would just be some kind of miracle win, and we would all just be all in. You know me, I'd be leading the parade on Lakeshore Drive just for beating the Chiefs.
When they went down the field and scored the second touchdown today, I'm like, shit, they're pulling me back in. They might win this.
Right.
I can only imagine if they beat KC.
That's what
shit.
I'm saying. So, you know, and then they go on to lose the next 2 games after that and then just humble us again. This is the dance we play as Bears fans. So expect the unexpected. Everyone, you know, the interesting thing is with our picks, you know, last year I was 13-4 on our CHGO team, and the second best guy had 11 correct picks on the season. What didn't feel like that hard of a year to pick the games. So I'm certainly not tooting my horn at 13-4, but a respectable number.
You're about to be 2-1 next week, bud. So.
Well, I'm 1-1 because of course I picked with my heart week 1, but everybody picked the Packers week 1. So it also kind of becomes a strategy thing, right? So only Hogue picked the Bears to win. Adam Hogue picked the Bears to win this week. So now he falls to 0-2. Everybody else is 1-1. But I bet you everybody's going to pick the Chiefs, right? So while they're zigging, maybe I should try to throw my Hail Mary in there and zag and get a win that nobody else can get. How do I talk myself into this game in the next 6 days? It's probably not going to happen. But you never know. I can do some pretty stupid shit if I put my mind to it. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Had some really good numbers as far as live viewers. Obviously, there will probably be a lot of people that watch afterwards or throughout the week if they really want to go through the therapy session. But like we've been saying throughout the show, we're going to be doing these every single game, you know, as best we can as our schedules dictate. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. The door's always going to be open to any of you Bears fans that want to come on here and vent, or if you want to push back on us, you don't agree with something we're saying, come on here and call us out. I welcome anybody. I see KD Kennedy was in here. He's one of my biggest ball busters at CHGO in the chat. T3P's always busting my ass. Nobody's ever going to bust my ass more than Shy Sports Fan. He's been doing it for 5 years. So he's got me ready for all the newbies that are in my mentions, telling me how stupid I am. Trust me. I know you're not revealing anything to me. I know I'm a dumbass, but that's why we come on here. We have some fun with you. We're just a bunch of fans in the stands, and you know, we want to keep this door open to everybody, even the people we don't agree with. So as long as you keep your feelings at the door and you come in and want to have a discussion, and even if it gets a little heated, that's what we're going to do here at Brags in the Stands, Bears in the Stands, as we call these shows, but the overall network being Brags in the Stands. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. You know, one day we'll have happy post games and fun talk, but at the end of the day, we got to call it for what it is. I would slow down on the Brags. Is very intelligent, Michael Gordon.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do with his mic, guys. Let's
you know what? Come on, give me a break here. But you know, I'm gonna go back to watching the Cubs blow their playoff hopes, and the Dolphins are beating the Patriots 17-3 right now. So, you know, Trey Tunes, I know he's gonna be busting my ass. Trey, if I had known you weren't working like you were always working, you'd be right here with us. So let me give you a call here sometime this week, and we'll get shit set up. But I know I know you're the busiest man in show business. David Kaplan can take a seat to how busy you are, Trey, but you know I love you. So that wraps things up for tonight. But again, we're going to try to do shows during the week if we can, get one in, or we have a unique interview guest. But for the most part, we're going to always try to be here for every post game during, after the game and give people an opportunity to voice their takes, frustrations, opinions, or even maybe celebrate one day. You never know. So thanks again to everybody for tuning in. That wraps things up. The Chicago Bears fall to 0-2 on the season at the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is Braggs in the Stands for Junior. I'm Greg Braggs Jr. This is Bears in the Stands, and always bear down.